Hello, everyone. Sorry, I had my mic off briefly. Hope you guys are doing well. Let's get the music back on again. That's a little loud, so let's turn that down. But I hope you guys are doing well. Let's get my headphone volume down, actually. Hey, Kath. How are we doing? I'm doing pretty well. I am a little bit in one of those... I'm having kind of one of those days where... you're just, like, your brain is just kind of working a little bit slower than it normally does, right? I'm having one of those days today. Eataline, Holger, welcome, welcome. Good to have you with us. I am glad to be back. It is Therapy Thursday. You had a rough day, but I'm okay. Okay. Well, I am sorry to hear that you had a rough day, but I'm glad you're okay right now. Safi Starships and Silver Fox Talk, welcome to both of you. Don't recognize those screen names, so if you guys are new here, yeah, okay, new here first time, awesome. Well, I am happy to have you as part of the community, happy to have you with us here. I hope you're doing well on this Therapy Thursday. It is, what is it, 11:01 a.m. Pacific time for me. I assume for you guys, for some of you it is the evening. I know for Edeline and Kath, it is the evening time over in Europe. Our German and Belgian friends. Silver Fox. Oh, big mental health supporter. Awesome. Well, I'm glad to have you with us. You guys will notice, if you were here previously, you'll notice that the Marvel poster thing that is now there, that was there, has come down. This is the beginning of me packing for our move in a few weeks. So you're going to see this sort of setup here start to kind of come down over the coming weeks of streams. Safi Starships waves. Hello. Waving back at you. I just woke up, so nothing's happened for me because it's 8:02 a.m. Wow. Where are you that it's 8:02 a.m.? That's interesting. Are you in Australia? Or are you in, like, Hawaii? I don't know what time zone Hawaii is. But that's interesting. That's cool. Tell us where you are, Safi, if you don't mind. You're in New Zealand. Ah, New Zealand. One of the greatest countries in the world. I have always wanted to go to New Zealand. Never had the opportunity. And since I'm from the UK originally, and I'm a big cricket fan, and I really want to go to New Zealand and chill out and watch some cricket, some beautiful cricket stadiums down there. Anyway, yeah, gotta love New Zealand, and I'm happy that we've got such a global crowd today, particularly, right? We've got Belgium in the house, we've got myself in the US, but from the UK, we've got Germany in the house, we've got USA in the house, Silver Fox, we've got New Zealand in the house. Do we have anybody else in the house from anywhere else? Do we have like someone from, I don't know, Nigeria, India? Like, do we have people from all over? Hello, FTB. Welcome, welcome. One of our regulars in the house, Final Table Boy. Good to have you with us, as always. Probably racking up those channel points rapidly now. I'm across the world. GNB. Oh, what's with the keyboard mashing? I'm not sure I'm picking up what you're saying there, but anyway, yeah, I'm happy to be back, guys. Did you guys? I don't know if you guys would have got it or would have seen it properly, but did you guys like my my new intro? Like, I can play it again for you. It's only 12 seconds long, so I'm gonna play it again now. It's good, right? It's good. I had it made recently. Only cost me 25 bucks. So I'm happy with that. I'm pretty happy with that cool new intro and outro. Did you get the did the sound come through for you guys? Because I'm still, like, the sound didn't really come through for me, and I'm still trying to, like, figure out what the hell went on there. But we'll get it fixed. We'll get it sorted out. Yeah, I think it was off. I think it was off Fiverr. I saw it. I was wondering if I missed it all the time. Yeah, it's a cool intro, right? I like it. Yeah. Now, this is the first time I've had it on stream. Sound was okay. Okay, cool. So I don't know why the sound doesn't come through my headphones, or why, like, the audio track is showing up for you guys but not for me. But, you know, we have an intro now, and that's gonna go. What you're gonna see is on the YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, which link is going in chat on Twitch. You will find that the past interviews over the next week or so, the past interviews that we've done, I'm going to be uploading edited versions of those. So not edited in the sense of taking stuff out, but just like we're taking out the useless part of, like, the stream that's beforehand or afterwards, really, and we're just having the interview. We've got the intro, we've got a little outro, we've got like any technical hitches and stuff are like edited out, and they're all going to go up there. So we're going to have nice clean video versions of my previous interviews. Also, all the Ask a Neuroscientist segments that we do from now on, and all the mental methods segments that we do from now on are going to go up there as well. So a lot of good stuff going to go up on that YouTube channel, and that intro is going to be on all of it. Safi is very sleepy. Third dress rehearsal, and on third dress rehearsal. Oh, are you an actor? Wow. And on Saturday and Sunday I have my concerts. Oh, concerts. Wait, okay, so dress rehearsal implies acting, concerts implies music. So is it both? Are you an actor and a musician? Because that's pretty impressive. That is that's multi-talented right there. I did a little bit of acting in high school, but I was never really good at it. Oh, you're a dancer. Wow, okay. Completely opposite, like, to, you know, I just missed that one altogether. That's, wow. That's awesome. Dancing is not something I did in high school, or really afterwards. Yeah, I wouldn't call myself much of a dancer, but that's awesome. I wish you the best of luck with that. I forgot to tell you guys more interesting or fun new stuff we have. Okay. Is it back? I think it's back. Okay. Yeah, the mic battery ran out. Still off? He panicking? I'm not I'm not panicking. Nah, it's just this mic. I think I forgot to charge it. It's great in that it can attach to my headphones and then detach and everything. But I am back. Yeah, anyway. So, Confused Travolta is right here. I should have put the Confused Travolta on the good news was the existence of Confused Travolta on the stream now. That's new. And then also this one, which you guys are gonna enjoy.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
I hope you guys enjoyed that one. That one is gonna be fun when we're playing a game and something happens that we don't want, or you know, we get into one of those circumstances where we have to, like one of those spots where like you have to do the same thing over and over again, or like when you show up at a home game on the wrong night. Yeah, reasonable. Also, this Sunday's poker stream for the World Series main event. If we take any bad beats, we're going to be playing that one. So look out for that. That sounds like my father figure. Oh, yikes! Is that a good thing or a bad thing? That kind of sounds like a bad thing. If your father figure is yelling in that way. Hey, M. Carlat, 1032. Welcome. Good to have you with us. Happy to see you. I hope you're doing well on this Therapy Thursday. Welcome to the community. It's a good thing. Okay, that's good. Yeah, I have to try to like figure out the best way to use those memes. And I've got right now I have 2 empty slots on my Stream Deck. So I've got like options there. Oh, we also have more emotes. We have this one. We have this emote that says hugs. I'm not sure is it readable? It's kind of readable. So we have that one. I think that's readable. Maybe it's just my monitor is low resolution, or high resolution. It's too small. But that we got that hugs emote right there to go along with the I feel you emote. That's me spamming my own emotes in chat. Shout out to Cricket Pink Ball for making these. That's my wife. She made all these. I'm not sure if there's 2 more, but I'm not sure if they've been enabled yet. So you guys will have to bear with me here. Oh, it does work. Okay. So this one is good question. So this one is when Holger, did you just message me on Slack? Like, what's going on? I just got a notification that Holger messaged me on Slack while he's also watching my stream. What do we got here? Ah, okay. Yeah. Block the spammer. Yeah. Yeah. I'm spamming too many emotes. Okay, Holger, I'll answer your message on Slack elsewhere later on. I didn't realize Slack was open. I gotta close down Slack so I don't get more notifications. So what do we got? We've got the good question emote right there, and then we've got this one. Oh no, that one doesn't work. Okay, so this one isn't approved yet. The last one isn't approved yet, but it's one that says cat alert. It's for anytime one of my cats walks past the door, although the door's closed right now. Anytime one of my cats walks past the door, we've got a cat alert emote. So I'm excited for these. We've got these little improvements to the stream happening. Cat Jam, yeah, everyone, the Cat Jam emote is a classic. Everyone likes that emote, right? I mean, there's nothing to dislike about that emote. I want to remind you guys also, before I forget, that we do have a giveaway going on. We have the PS4 with a copy of Marvel Spider-Man giveaway. So if you would like to nominate somebody in your life for the giveaway, I'm trying to find a kid that really loves Spider-Man to give this PS4 to. And if you know anybody, if you have a kid, if you are a kid, if you have a nephew, a niece, if you have, anybody that you know in your life. Thank you for the sub, Jack Rag. Appreciate it very much. Thank you for being here, and thank you for resubbing. Where's my applause thing? Round of applause for Jack Rag for subbing. Very much appreciate you. Yeah, so we have that PS4 giveaway going on. We're giving away a PS4 and a copy of Marvel Spider-Man. Hopefully to a kid who really loves Spider-Man. And I'm excited to see if we can locate a kid to give this to. And that is shippable anywhere. I will ship it to anywhere in the world. Evening, Jack Rack. Good to have you with us. Glad to have you back with us on stream. So today, guys, as a bit of a guide to what you can expect, we have an interview coming up in 45 minutes with Jennifer. Oh, who's Visionary Stevo is rating. Thank you, Visionary Stevo, rating with a party of 3. We've got 45 minutes until we interview Jennifer. I was just introducing the concept to the stream here. Jenny's in chat. It's a raid. What does that emote say? Raid, just says raid. Okay, awesome. Yeah, that's what's going on. We got smacked with an ad. Yeah, I'm sorry, man. I thought I had disabled. Well, I've disabled pre-roll ads when I run ads. But I keep forgetting to run ads, so the pre-roll keeps coming up. I gotta run more ads. They don't let you get away without advertising for people. But thank you, Visionary Stevo. Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking with Jenny in 45 minutes. We're going to be talking about the topic of being a highly sensitive person. So that's going to be an interesting one. It's a topic that I think is really relevant for a lot of people. Hey, what's up, y'all? We are doing well, I think. How are you doing, Visionary Stevo? Glad to have some newcomers in the chat today. It's all good. It's all good. Mine are on too. Yeah, it's funny, right? Like I turned pre-roll off thinking like, oh, I'll just run ads on my breaks. It'll be fine. But then you look at how many ads they want you to run, and it's like you get 30 minutes with no pre-roll for every 1.5 minutes of ads you run. And it's like, am I going to take a 90-second break every 30 minutes just to keep the pre-roll off? And it's like, that's a lot, and I keep trying to do it, but like, when are you going to fit all these ads in? You don't want to just be like, all right, ad break every 15. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Yeah, so we're doing well, and we've got this 45 minutes to go until our interview with Jenny. My Ask Dad was ran in like September. Yeah, I forget to put. I have a button on my Stream Deck for running an ad. Like I could click a button and run an ad right now, but I just forget. You know, I just forget. But yeah, we've got all kinds of stuff going on. We've got new emotes. These two. The cat alert emote apparently is not approved yet, but it will be hopefully soon. And what else do we have? Yeah, we have the Travolta. We have Confused Travolta. We have what else did we have? We have this one.
God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
I don't know why that just cracks me up. Feeling good today. I was a little down the last couple of days from burnout. But I'm glad you're doing well, Steve-O. Glad you're doing well. Yeah. The new emotes are cool, right? Hugs and good question. Again, you can thank my amazing wife, Cricket, for those. Dig the color. Yeah. Color is good, right? It's you know, we got this whole like sort of electric blue theme going on around the channel. But yeah, we've got new memes. We've got the new intro. You guys have just arrived. I haven't shown you the intro. Let me do it again. I'm just going to show the intro again just for the people who've still arrived. So here's my new intro. All right, it's good, right? It's a good intro. I'm spamming it now, but it's good, right? We've got the intro. We've got the intro going on. We've got new memes. We've got new emotes. We've got all kinds of stuff. Even Trico and Smithy as well. Welcome, Smithy, one of our regulars. And yes, shout out to the wife. I think she's still asleep right now, but she will probably be in here at some point soon. Not physically in here. She will be downstairs in our house watching the stream from her computer. Yeah, I like the intro too. It cost me 25 bucks on Fiverr. So yeah, we got a lot of new stuff on the stream. We got a lot of stuff going on. And I got a lot of stuff going on life-wise. You know, we've got the move coming up in a few weeks. The stream room will gradually start looking different over the next few weeks. The 30th is when we officially move, so we have 20 days from now to get our house packed up and move. Like, it's literally like 15 minutes down the street. It's honestly like annoying to have to move when it's so close. Yeah, we got some time to prepare, and it's just frustrating to have to do it around the holidays, and it's also frustrating to have to leave this house because we don't want to leave this house, but you know, the landlord is selling it, so it is what it is. But yeah, the stream room is going to look very different. Yeah, move is a pain in the ass, man. Yeah, it's frustrating. We got a letter from our landlord saying like the owner of the house is going to sell it. He's apparently, quote unquote, liquidating all his properties. So yeah, we have to move out of the house that we're living in and into another one, which is a little bit smaller, but it is what it is. We're just happy that we found a good place and with the same landlord and things like that. So my stream room is going to look different. Stream room / office is going to be a different room, and we're going to have a little bit of a different setup for the stream, but that's a good thing, right? I mean, we can, you know, change is pretty good. Don't feel bad. Jay Little streams from a small closet, small closet in NYC. Aren't all apartments in NYC pretty much small closets? I feel like my impression of what apartments in New York are like, you've got small closets, and then you've got like the ones that cost like $3 million that are like these fancy penthouses at the top of a high rise, you know, like that. It feels like there's not a lot of in between in New York there, or at least I assume there's not a lot of in between in New York City right there. It's kind of the way that London is. Yeah, uncomfortable is good. Change is opportunity for growth. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. Change is definitely good, and we are happy to I think have the opportunity to settle into a new place with relatively low stress. Like, we thought it was going to be really stressful finding a new place, but it's thanks to the fact that our landlord actually has one that is available. It's not going to be so bad. So, you guys ever thought about buying? You guys like the freedom of renting? I think we're at a point in our life now where we're starting to think about maybe buying, but I don't think we're 100% set on where we are right now, which is Vegas, like, for the rest of our lives. So, like, we've certainly thought about buying, but I think that the plan right now is to maybe be in Vegas for another year or two, and then once I get to the point where I'm not, like, heavily involved in poker full time, or at a point where living in Vegas for poker purposes is not necessary anymore, I think we'll probably plan to move to somewhere like Oregon, maybe Washington State, somewhere in the Pacific Northwest, because Pacific Northwest is, I think, the type of place that it's a lot more like where I grew up weather-wise, so it's a lot easier for me to be outdoors, and it's also the dry air and dry weather in the desert. Like, it just it's just tough, it's not easy to live here. Real estate in America is very capitalistic, especially in cities. Yeah, real estate is brutal, man. Similar size house. Yeah, it's a little bit smaller. It's definitely a little bit smaller. I think we've been very lucky here with the amount of space that we've gotten for the rent that we're paying. But yeah, it's still a nice size. It's still the amount of space that we need, and it has a little bit of a larger yard, which is going to be good and interesting. We might have the chance to sort of turn the yard into something, or a garden, I suppose, to use British English. Yeah, it's going to be fun. Within WSOP Maine and make Vegas your satellite office. That would be nice. That would be really, really nice. I would like it if that happened. Yeah. Oh shit, I didn't know you were a professional in Vegas. Yeah. I mean, I think people have a lot of conceptions about what being a professional poker player is that aren't super accurate. But yeah, I do play poker for a living. I do coach poker for a living mostly as well. Is the interview my mindset by Dave? Oh yeah. I mean, it's on my Twitter profile. I'm a poker pro. And hey, Pony, welcome. Good to have you with us here. Once again, as usual, all the regulars are here. What's my balance for not overindulging in poker or table games and stuff? Well, I just don't play table games at all. Like, I have no interest in playing table games, really, honestly. Because the thing is, mathematically, table games are just a losing game. Like, you can't win long term at table games. Every time you play roulette or whatever, you're basically just handing, like, a small amount of money to the casino in the long run. And when it comes to overindulging in poker, like, there's a whole concept in poker that's called bankroll management, where it's basically about how do you manage the money that you have available to play poker with, and it's sort of, it just requires having I guess, like, an investment philosophy on how you're gonna treat the resources that you have available to you as a whole, I guess. Oh wait, Grinder, what's up, my friend? Hope you're doing well. Been out there in those streets broadcasting the Galfond Challenge. Appreciate you being here. Speaking of poker players, fellow poker player 08 Grinder in the chat. Happy to have him here. Chat's buzzing today. This is great. It's so weird, man. Like, I really felt like in November, everything was super quiet. Like, we didn't like, when we did these depression anxiety AMAs in November, it was always a lot quieter. Heading to my room to grab laptop. Sure. Nice perspective. Yeah, I think so. Really bright in my room. Yeah, I've got a little bit of natural light going on. I had like a curtain covering the window in front of me before. But I was starting to feel like the lighting was affecting me. You know, maybe like making my eyes a little sketchy. But yeah, we got some natural light going on. You know, I think it's good for that. We've also got the window open, so I can keep cool in here. Simply taking advantage of the beautiful, what is it today in Vegas? What is it? It's 57 degrees in Vegas. It's fantastic weather today. I've never stepped foot into a casino or played poker. Wow, okay. Poker is a great game for learning to understand your own emotions. I'm sure 08 will probably agree, and anybody who's played a lot of poker will agree. Like, when you play a lot of poker, you start to understand the things that influence the way you think and the way that you respond to certain circumstances, and you start to use your logical brain a little bit more as well. So poker is a great thing for just educating yourself about your emotions, I guess. I'm excited to join as much as possible or just watch your last forecast. Oh, awesome. Yeah. Wait, do you mean the stream that I did with Berkey last Monday where I was commentating on Doug and Daniel, or do you mean the vlogcast from back in like September? Welcome to the community. Oh man, I can't pronounce that name. Tenant. Ah, okay. That's a. Is that what I thought it was? I'm trying to process that screen name. Like is that what I thought it was? 10-inch long King Kong Dong. Is that the screen name? Is that what it was? Because that is like, I don't know if, I feel like that's not, yeah, I can see it up here. It's in the top right. It's in the top right up there. Like, that is, I don't know how that's allowed on Twitch. Like, dude, that is a hell of a screen name. I was almost like not sure if I should even say that. All right. Yeah, Twitch chat flow can be super unpredictable. It's 39 degrees. Oh, 39 degrees is cold by Fahrenheit standards. Oh my god, he was in my chat today. Me neither, it worked. Wow, yeah. It's a literal mouthful. Let's not. It's like, let's not, guys. Let's not. Broadcasting back in September. Oh, awesome. Okay. It might even been before September. I'm not sure. I wouldn't have read it. Names like that are trolly. They are trolly. But I want to give people the benefit of the doubt, right? Benefit of the doubt. Oh no, you spelt Fahrenheit correctly, I think. I'm not sure. I'm not laughing, you're laughing. I was laughing because I was like, what the hell is going on? You know, it was like laughing in a sense of All right, guys. I feel like this is going completely off the rails now. We have derailed pretty significantly, but that's fine. You know, derailing is okay. Maybe is this a good time for Confused Travolta? No, probably not. This isn't really that kind of moment for Confused Travolta, but we put him up there anyway. He can hang out with us. We got about half hour until this interview is going to get started, but yeah, I should finish checking in with you guys. I mean, the first question someone asked me earlier was how I was doing, and I'm doing okay. I'm kind of having one of those days where my brain is like a little bit slower than usual. It might be because I ate ice cream last night. It might be that, but I'm not really sure. For some reason, I don't know why, but my activity feed on Streamlabs is not updating. I don't know why. It might be because I'm dual streaming, or I don't know. My activity feed is just not doing anything. It's very odd. Anyway, yeah, I'm having like one of those days where I feel like my brain is just a little bit slower. I seem sort of jolly today. I guess I am. I'm happy that maybe it might be the lighting, yeah. It also might be just like it's nice to see the chat like really active and people are here, and it's like the more people are here, the more my energy gets up, you know. Ismail. Welcome, Ismail, by the way. 7C36. I've had a manic episode, my friend. Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. But life is worth it, so I'm surviving shit. Yeah, absolutely, life is worth it. I'm glad to hear you're surviving and shit. Did you get enough sleep? Yeah, I think I did. I mean, I didn't, like, it was a little weird getting to sleep, I guess. I didn't sleep as much as I would have liked to, maybe, but... What do we got there? Welcome to the community, Ismail. Thank you. Appreciate you being here. The streamer I was watching earlier also had problems with Streamlabs. Oh, okay. Well, that might be just a Streamlabs thing that's going on then, but, you know, either way, it's all good. Not the most present person. That's fine. You don't have to be present. You can just lurk. You can just chill. I don't want to put pressure on you guys to like feel like you have to contribute necessarily. But yeah, we're glad you're here, Ismail, for sure. And as Kat says, Pony, yeah, we're all here for you if you're having a rough time. What do we got later today? Oh, later today. That was what I was going to mention. I'm going to be back with the usual afternoon stream. So we're gonna do the interview. Then we'll probably do another chapter of Lost Connections. We will probably do another chapter of this book right here by Johann Hari. And then later today, I'm going to be back with another stream. But instead of just playing a regular game, I mean, I might play something for a while beforehand. But basically, 4 p.m. Pacific time, so that is 4.5 hours from now, give or take, is the Game Awards. And they have said, like, they've said basically to everybody, like, go ahead and just stream, you know, restream the awards, like, put the awards on your channel, watch it with your chat, things like that. So I'll probably be watching the Game Awards later. Tidy the room, welcome, my friend. Yeah, it has been a while. I'm glad to see you back here. I'm glad that you're with us again. Always good to have you part of the community. I have a math final in an hour and I'm not prepared. Well, the good news is that your exams always feel like they matter. They always feel more significant than they actually are, basically. Like, growing up at least, like, you feel like, oh my god, I have to pass this exam, this final, and you feel like your life is going to end if you don't. But thankfully, even if you know, don't pass a final, things are still going to be okay. Rough time indeed. Chat, give advice how to deal with lockdown due to COVID and constant stress, loneliness, work from home, eat, sleep, repeat. Yeah, that's tough. It's not been easy for, I think, anybody. I think it's one of these situations where there's no easy fix, easy answer, easy, you know, just do this and you'll feel better. I think it's one of these things where you got to kind of do what you can, you know, in that. I'll see you later, Pony. No worries. Take care. You got to kind of do what you can, in that we have the ability, you know, even during quote unquote lockdown, in most places we have the ability to be outside taking a walk on our own, let's say, you know, be in the fresh air, even if we can't like go to the store or Well, actually, you can probably go to the store because most places aren't closing grocery stores or anything. But like we can't do the things that we usually do. But getting fresh air is important. Getting exercise is important in some way. Getting the opportunity to connect with other people in some capacity, even if it's just through something like this, even if it's just through a stream, like getting that feeling of connecting with somebody in some kind of way is going to be important when you're kind of stuck inside. Oh, you sent me a message on Discord? Oh, wait. Let me open up my Discord. Yeah, no worries. Lunch is good. Awesome. Yeah, I will give Cricket your email. And Jenny, I just saw your Discord message as well from like an hour ago. It's not a big deal. The promo images don't make that much of a difference. So I tweeted it, you tweeted it. It's cool. But yeah, so to go back to the lockdown thing, I think like it's in any given situation, it's about like what do we still have the ability to control, right? Because we don't control the fact that the pandemic is still out there. We don't necessarily control the fact. Wait a minute. My latest sub thing, my Streamlabs is going crazy. So my sub alert thing is telling me that Trico subbed. So Trico, I don't know if you did sub or not, but I'm gonna give you a round of applause for that sub because it looks like I think the notification didn't come up. Like Streamlabs didn't seem to give me the notification. But thank you, Trico, for the sub. Appreciate that very much. Good to have you with us in the community here. I'm laughing every time I see that name tagged. I'm just gonna call you King Kong for now, like, because that's the less controversial part of that screen name. So I'm just gonna call you King Kong. I've been setting myself challenges. Yeah, that's good. Learning new skills is really good. I was earlier in lockdown or earlier in the pandemic. I was learning to code. And then I started very briefly, I was learning about game design. And then I started streaming, and now streaming is the thing that takes up all my sort of hobby time. You know, streaming is a really fun thing for me. Welcome to the community. Is that Knowles Panda? Knowles Panda? I'll call you Panda. Welcome. We're happy to have you with us. Delighted to have so many new people in the chat. You know, it's great to have new people here. Always really good to have new people here. And we've only got about 20 minutes till our interview with Jenny. And it's good. It's funny having the person I'm about to interview in the chat before the interview. That's the first person that's done that, I think. Knowles Panda, you're welcome. You're more than welcome to the community. I keep saying that word really, community really quickly. I'm trying to like it because it's some words sound weird in my original British accent, and some words I sort of slide into this weird new American accent that I'm partially picking up now. Community is one that I struggle to say in either of the accents. Yeah, I'm delighted that we got a bunch of new people today, which is great, and I'm also happy that I get to talk with Jenny in a little while, because Jenny's got a ton of really interesting perspectives to add, and we've both been sort of hanging out in each other's streams a bunch, so it's going to be nice to actually have a conversation. You know, it's going to be really cool. So we've got that, and then coming up next week we have another episode of Mental Methods on Monday, obviously. And then we have another episode of Ask a Neuroscientist on Tuesday, obviously, because that's the routine. Thursday, next Thursday is not a... Next Thursday, we don't have interview scheduled yet. It is going to be an interview day, but we haven't booked anybody in yet. And what you're going to see moving forward, I think, this is based on a conversation I had with my therapist yesterday. I was talking yesterday about how I've been feeling. There's a T in community. I know, right? It's not a D. It's not community. It's community. I know. I should just pronounce it very pointedly. Community. Every time. Welcome to the community. Like that. Yeah, so what I was talking about with my therapist yesterday was this excuse me, this idea that as a streamer, I'm starting to now be in a position where, having interviewed a bunch of the people that are sort of in my orbit, and having interviewed people about a lot of topics that are sort of quite generalized when it comes to mental health. So mental health in this field, mental health in that field, you know, things like that. What I have been starting to think about lately is thinking about it in terms of I've been looking at trying to like get people to do an interview as a way to grow the stream. I've been thinking like get people who have a bigger audience than me, and then they'll bring their audience to the stream partially, and then it'll grow the stream. But I've been thinking about that in the wrong terms, because I've been thinking of the interviews as a platform to try to achieve growth, when in reality they're actually something where if I focused on just delivering the best value for you guys, not only would it remove the stress of trying to seek out interviews with people who are quote unquote bigger than me, but it would actually give me a chance to have conversations and interviews with people who may benefit a lot from the opportunity to put themselves out there. You know, I'm not exactly a big streamer by any means. I'm still a very small streamer, but the fact remains that there are people who are smaller than I am. You know, the community that we have here is smaller than most, but it's also bigger than some. And I want to try to elevate people who are, you know, part of the mental health discussion, but also who could benefit from being given a bit more of a platform. And I think that produces really good quality interview content. And I think that it's not necessarily the case that people need to have, like, I don't know, an interview with, you know, someone well known in order to, you know, to justify kind of coming into the community. So I look forward to being able to bring you guys some different kinds of interviews with probably a lot of streamers, probably a lot of people who are involved in mental health spaces, but who don't necessarily have as much of a platform to get their voice out there. I'd be excited to have some conversations with anybody in this kind of domain. You know, there's a lot of really great people out there doing mental health streaming, doing all kinds of work to raise awareness, all kinds of work to give people tools and advice and strategies to improve their quality of life. So I'm looking forward to being able to elevate some of those people. I gotta remember to stay hydrated. Like, staying hydrated on stream is my biggest challenge right now. That's better. What do you guys think about different lighting? So I've got different kinds of lighting here. I've got like slightly yellow. Oh, that looks weird, right? That doesn't look good. Hey, Herr Formio. Welcome. Good to have you back. That's like slightly yellow, and then that's white. That's like this is like daylight, basically. This is probably the best one, right? Certainly that looks best on screen from my perspective. So yeah, welcome, Herr Formio. Hope you're doing well on this. Yeah, well, it's pretty natural, right? It's pretty good. So it is Therapy Thursday, and we have 15 minutes. I look sunburnt. I am not sunburnt. This is my natural skin tone. Oh, I look sunburnt with the yellow tint. Okay, good. I'm glad. Excuse me. I'm glad you clarified. I'm glad you clarified that it was the lighting that made me look sunburnt, and not just that I generically look sunburnt. That does make me look kind of sunburnt. You're right. That hopefully I look a bit more normal there. I was about to get a little bit like, hey, come on, you know, for a second there. I was about to be like, you know, looking sunburned. If that's the case, then this is my natural state, I guess. But no, I think we're good. All right, we've got, what do we got? 14 minutes. So yeah, my biggest challenge on stream lately has been staying hydrated and just keeping my energy levels up, which is why I decided to start splitting the streams into the early portion and the late portion. And the late portion for today is going to be, I think we'll probably play a little bit of games. We'll probably play, like, I think I'm going to play some Banjo-Kazooie, something like that. Sunburn is a sensitive subject for us redheads. I know, exactly, right? It really is. It's a subject very, I wouldn't say close to my heart. It's like, it's just a subject that is a sore spot for me, I suppose. Very much so, yeah. So yeah, I think we're going to play at least some games this afternoon. I'm going to play a little bit of Banjo-Kazooie probably, or maybe some Donkey Kong 64. We're going to play some kind of N64 game, because we're going to do the Thursday game theme for the stream moving on is going to be Throwback Thursday, right? So it's going to be basically retro. It's going to be, you know, play an old game. And I was playing Banjo and Donkey Kong a while back on stream, and I think that that was a lot of fun. We got about halfway through Banjo, never finished it, so it'd be nice to carry on with it. Shouting Tom says ruddy is a good word. Ruddy is a good word, although it's very much it's a word that's pretty much only used by people in the UK, I think. Don't really hear anybody here in the US using that word at all. Can't remember ever having heard an American use that. Excuse me. Hello, M. Guerrero, 1776. Happy to have you with us. I recognize your screen name. Where did I see your screen name? Was it in another? Were you in another stream? Did you find me from somebody else's stream? Because like I've seen that screen name, and I'm like, not sure. Anyway, any thoughts on my? Oh, M. Guerrero must be from Jenny's stream. Of course. Any thoughts on your Cyberpunk 2077 sesh? Yeah, I enjoyed the game. There are a lot of bugs in that game. They're going to need to patch the hell out of that. And it was a fun game. It's definitely a very fun game. And I'm looking forward to playing more of it. And it runs pretty well on PS5, but I've heard it runs quite badly on a lot of the other consoles, the previous generation consoles. So not sure what to make of it. I'm lucky to be able to play it on PS5. I'm a 37-year-old male living in a tent in a comedy club, making a TV show every night. My parents think I've lost my mind, but I'm incredibly happy living like this. Should I just stop bothering trying to rationalize this to them? That's a tricky question, but I think it's a question of they, like, parents grow up in a mentality where they feel like it's where it is their responsibility to know what's best for you, right? And it can be hard for parents to get out of that mentality of thinking that they know what's best. And so I think that there's a certain amount of from both sides where you can put a lot of time and energy into explaining it to them and helping them to understand that you have thought this through and that you're happy doing it. But then if you give them all that information about why this makes you happy and why you're okay with it and why it's fun for you, and then they don't accept that, then that's outside your control, right? You can't control their reaction. And there are times when you just have to say, okay, this person's going to react the way that they're going to react. And I've done everything I can to explain this to them. So I'm not going to try to feel like I have to do something more or make a change because of this person's opinion, I guess. But you just heard me use it. I did, I guess. And if you are an American, then I guess that counts. Love your poster or plaque reading. This might be useless. Reading books is like imagine nonsense in your brain. Yeah, it kind of is. That's true. Thank you, Bahama John. I appreciate you being here. Welcome to the community. See, I pronounced the T there, Smithy. Community. Yeah, that's the thing. They got to trust you, right? Sofa Perdido, welcome. Welcome, welcome. Glad to have you back as well. Yeah, I'm glad it was nice to hear. What is that? Is that the big facts? Yeah, I like the big facts emote. Big facts emote is always good. So in a few minutes, I'm going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back for the interview. So, I have the Zoom up and running. Jenny, you can hop in when at around 12 o'clock when you're ready to get going, and I think we'll be good. Now, I'm hoping that the Zoom is going to come through okay, because I made a couple of small edits to my interview screen, like my background for the interviews yesterday, and it didn't seem to like it when I tested Zoom out on that. But anyway, we will figure it out. We will figure it out. We are interviewing one of our community members and fellow mental health streamer, Jennifer HH. So actually, the comment directly above yours, we are interviewing the person who made that comment. So I am excited. And we're going to be talking about the subject of being a highly sensitive person. It's going to be an interesting conversation, I'm sure. So I'm looking forward to that. And it's going to be in a few minutes' time. So I'm glad that we've been able to kind of bring people together for an interview here. Huge empath here, M. Guerrero. Yeah, I think there's a lot of us out there. You know, I think there's a lot of us. I think there's a lot of us out there in the world who have a lot of that that ability to sort of feel how other people are, or like respond to other people's sort of vibe in that kind of way, in that very sensitive way. And I think that discussing that is going to be it's going to be really interesting. So I'm excited to talk with Jenny. I'm going to take a quick break in just a moment to get set up and make sure that I have everything I need over here. I'm getting better at protecting my energy and creating healthy boundaries. That's good. I am glad you're protecting your energy and creating healthy boundaries. Healthy boundaries are very important. Very, very important. So, time for a quick break. When we get back, we're going to do the interview. I might run my intro again for you guys, because you know that intro it's just cool, right? So I'm going to do that. We're going to go on a quick break, and then when we come back, Jenny and I are going to set up the interview. So I'll see you guys in a moment. Where are we? Intro. All right, we're back again. Just got another minute or two before we can get started. I'm glad you like the footage of me petting the cat right there. His name is Beef. For those of you who have not been in stream before, we have two cats. One is named Beef. The other one is named Gargoyle because she likes to sit up high and look down on people. So you may see them at some point. I hope you will, actually. I hope you will see them frequently. But yeah, we're gonna get started soon. Jenny, you can hop in the Zoom chat whenever you like, and we will get things moving. But until then, we'll just kind of hang out for another minute or two. As I mentioned, after the interview, we're going to be doing another chapter of this book. We're going to be doing another chapter of our read-along. The chapters at this point are pretty brief because we're quite close to the end of the book. So probably just be another 15 minutes or so after the interview. And then when we're done with that, I'm going to wrap up the stream for the morning. And then in the afternoon stream, I'm going to come back around 3 p.m. Pacific, play some Banjo-Kazooie, hang out, watch the Game Awards, just kind of generally chill out and spend some time with you guys in the community. So I'm excited for that. Always look forward to those afternoon streams. So hope you guys will join me for that, particularly for the Game Awards. There's a lot of games I'm rooting for in the Game of the Year category and things like that. So very excited for that. Looking forward to seeing how many awards Last of Us Part 2 gets. Anyway, all right. So Jenny, you're in the Zoom. That's great. I just got to change the stream title. Mental Health Chat with Jennifer Hubs. Talk shows and podcasts is the category. There we go. Update. Okay. Admit. And then we go. Yeah, that's what we want. And then I think you should be able to see me now.
I see you.
You see me and you can hear me?
Yep.
Excellent. I can hear you and I can see you, but the stream is not cooperating, and I think that is because I have to disable my webcam.
Yes, I think so too.
That is not working right now.
Like,
Sorry guys. Let's disable that. Mental health chat. Okay, why is it not working? This is annoying and scary. Alright, I'm gonna put the stream back on. Be right back.
oh my gosh, I thought that break video was you sitting there taking a break like that.
Oh no, that's a
Wow, wow.
it's just a
I was like, wow, a break where they can see you? Okay, I guess.
yeah, it's an odd break, but that you're not the first person to think it was live either. I had a couple people actually like show up in chat the other day, thinking that, oh geez, I'm not sure why this is not working. I'm sorry guys in chat. I think you guys are still hearing me, I guess, but for some reason Zoom is not cooperating right now. My webcam is disabled. Oh man.
What's happening?
On my actual stream background is just a white space. It's just a blank white space. And I have no idea why that is, because at the very least, even if it's not showing my webcam, it should be showing you, and it's not. All right, let's do an emergency pivot. Let's
Yeah, I was gonna say, how are you capturing Zoom?
how am I capturing Zoom? I'm capturing it through a Oh, I can probably just do it through a window capture, can't I? Um, well, I was already doing it through a window capture, but let's try that. Let's try it differently. Zoom meeting. Yeah, well, every time I try capturing the meeting, it isn't working. So what I'm going to do is capture my screen instead. I'm going to move this, and then I'm just going to do a display capture on my left monitor. Yep, there we go. All right, well, I think everybody can see us now, and all I have to do is move that to the bottom. No, not move it to the bottom. That's almost there. It's kind of funny editing in real time, but there we go. I think that's about good enough. That'll do for now. All right, there we go.
Yeah,
You can kind of see it there. You can kind of see it. All right, guys.
yeah, and I have like a watermark on my webcam
Uh-huh.
that's there if that'll be popping up and down.
That's fine. It's all good. I don't think we can see it right now, so I think we're all good. So yes, thank you guys for sticking with me throughout that. I apologize for that. I was trying to get it set up yesterday, and it didn't seem to want to cooperate. But I figured, okay, well, when I actually get it, it'll probably be fine. But sorry, guys. Anyway, welcome, Jenny. Do you prefer Jenny or Jennifer?
Uh, mm, Jen is fine.
Jen is better. Okay, that's cool. That's all good. So welcome. I'm really happy to have you with us because you and I have been back and forth in each other's streams for a while now. It's probably been a few months, just kind of since not long after I started streaming. And I guess I should say thank you because you found me before I found you, right? So I'm glad that you came into my stream and said, hey, another mental health streamer, because I feel like there's already a lot of like connection back and forth between our two communities. So that's really cool to see. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. I really enjoyed like my first few weeks when I was like, are there mental health streamers? What
Yeah.
can I find?
hmm it's certainly kind of a new domain, I think, that seems to be emerging a lot more on Twitch these days, given that the pandemic has kind of put us all in this spot where we're all trying to figure out our way through it, and we're all trying to like get to grips with what the hell is going on in the world these days. So
Literally.
I think that ourselves as mental health streamers are probably I think we're doing a good service. I think we're doing something good for people. Well, at least I hope we are, right? I hope we are. I hope we're doing something that people can benefit from. So let's start by talking a little bit about how you actually kind of kicked off the streaming, the streaming habit, the streaming career, whatever it is that we call this. What made you want to get started with it?
Okay, so I mid-spring I realized that I listened to this podcaster and she was doing this like little masterclass thing on starting a podcast, and I just took advantage of the opportunity to like have a small group of people type of thing, and it was free. And the way she explained how podcasting is like one of the best ways to market your brand,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, yeah, that's cool. I have a lot to say, so let's go. And as I had that idea in my head toward like while I was working towards whatever, because it was a train wreck this summer, I was watching, well, my partner was watching Twitch, someone that he liked just being on there and doing their thing, like making music. And so I didn't really understand it, but I would like pay attention. And
mm-hmm.
then eventually I got gifted a sub there. So I now had like, I don't know, someone said, oh yeah, gifted subs always bring the lurkers out. And so I paid attention a little bit more, and he would have like motivational periods where he would be talking or sharing a
Mm-hmm.
video or, just speaking a lot of really good stuff. And so I would like add to the chat, and people were really, really responsive to that.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it be like responding in chat or via whisper. And so I was like, why don't I just stream? Instead, like I can take podcasting audio if I really wanted to, and make it into a podcast, which I might be doing little snippets and stuff.
Cool.
And I was like, okay, I'm gonna stream. So I had it figured out. I had it kind of set up. I tried it once or twice, but didn't really have any viewers, but had been talking to people about my idea,
Mm-hmm.
which was I just wanted to stream mental health. I wasn't really sure. And then I wanted to build like the art hub community, which was just a bunch of creatives coming together. And but I didn't know how to start. Like I knew I wanted to do art. I knew I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to do just different things. And then one day in one of the motivation chats, it was something about breakfast. And I was like, breakfast is really important. And I suck at eating it. And there was a lot of echoing in the chat, like,
Mm.
yes, I suck at eating breakfast too. And so I was like, would it be weird if I stream tomorrow morning and like the point is we eat breakfast, like I eat breakfast, you eat breakfast? And I did it
Yeah.
the next morning and I don't even wake up. I just got up because I was excited. And I had already, hold on, I'm gonna get a drink because hydrate.
Yes.
Oh,
Hydrate.
and Crow said hydrate at the same time. Hi,
Yeah.
Crow. Um,
Mm.
I had made like this really derpy, and Stevo, I made this really derpy overlay. I don't think it was derpy, and I got a lot of good comments on it, basically with all of the feeling words that I had learned over the summer in my peer support training. And I just took the two PDFs and like made them an overlay with like watercolor background and a spot for me, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And those were my feeling words, and that's how I started. And I said breakfast and feelings because again, the reason to like stop and eat breakfast, like don't sit down and get distracted on Twitch, like you sit down on my stream and now you're gonna go get breakfast and come back type thing.
Yeah.
Like I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
eat. You're not gonna be awkward about me eating on stream. But it has become more of that, more than that for me in the sense of like, did you take your meds? Have you brushed your teeth yet? Because I'm finding that like others will get up and maybe they haven't eaten, but they go brush their teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Or they remember to take their meds, or they remember, like I'm just remembering right now, that I still need to call the doctor and ask for a refill before Friday so that I don't get it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Um,
There's all sorts of I think benefits to having somebody that's able to check in like right at the start of the day like that, right? Because it
Instead of
yeah.
just scrolling on social media looking
Mm-hmm.
for nothing that you think you're looking for,
Yeah. Right.
like, and I didn't recognize how much of an impact it had on others, I guess, until my life started improving.
Mm-hmm.
Because when I was doing it, so it was 2 weeks of this peer support training every morning, and then at the end of the training, we would check in with a feeling word and check out with a feeling word.
Mm-hmm.
And I often would say like anxious and optimistic, or feeling depleted and hopeful, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But there were very often I had like negative terms, or rather term feelings when my needs were not met.
Right.
And so I wasn't feeling the impact so much of when I like was feeling those things, but I definitely appreciated being able to recognize how I was feeling.
Yeah.
Because then like I would have friends come over and I'd be like, how are you feeling? Like, look at the words. Don't tell me good. Don't
Mm-hmm.
say alive. No, like, how are you feeling? Because not only do I want to know how you're feeling, but I bet you don't know how you're feeling.
Mm. Yeah. That's such a big thing for so many people. I think that uh, we get into this habit where describing how we're feeling or answering the question of like how are you doing becomes this ritual of like we just always just say like I'm doing okay. You know, you never say like you never really say like I'm doing
How are you?
fantastic.
Good.
You know,
You.
Yeah,
Good.
yeah, exactly. It's like,
What's up? Not much. You.
yeah, it's like a ritual, you know, and we're not really sharing how we're actually doing. We're not even really like celebrating when things are going really well, because sometimes we feel like that's too much about us, and so you know we just sort of diminish that, and then when we're actually feeling crappy, we also diminish that too, and so it just becomes this cycle that we get into where
Right.
we
So if
never
you
actually
stop
talk
and you're
about.
like, how am
Mm,
I feeling? Okay, I'm feeling a little anxious today.
mm-hmm,
So, what around me is making me feel anxious? And this was the other thing that I think maybe it was quarantine that gave me. We
mm-hmm,
don't have a lot of control right now. So, I became very, very aware of like my four walls. And it's like, what am I control of right now that can help these feelings of anxiety go
mm-hmm,
away?
mm-hmm,
Because I recognize that now that I can identify these feelings, I know that it's just a feeling, which is just an alert to tell you to do something.
mm-hmm,
And once you were like, now that we're putting labels on it, it's like, wait a second. Okay, so what do I need to do to fulfill or equalize or center myself if I'm feeling a little uncomfortable? Like, what's making me uncomfortable, and what can I do to help myself feel better? And I feel so cliche or
yeah,
cheesy or what everyone else says when I say, like, when I talk about things like awareness or mindfulness, or listen to how you're feeling and you can help feel better based on, like, I feel like I've just heard those things often throughout my life. I don't know about anyone else, and that could have
mm-hmm,
just been through other periods of therapy or people trying to support me, but never did it resonate the way that it is now. So I don't know if it's clicking or if it was explained differently or what, but I'm telling you now, like, finding a label for an emotion and then recognizing that you're only in control of what you're in control of now gives you your options.
mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's funny because humans are like, we have this weird thing where we like to have some options, but we don't like to have too many, right? So
Yep.
we if you give us 100 different things to choose between of like how we can spend our time, we'll be like, oh my god, I have all these things I can do. What am I going to do? And if you only give us one thing, it'll be like, oh my god, I don't have any choices. What do I do? But if you give us like three things, we're like, okay, now I can manage this, right? I can choose. I have
Yes, this
options.
is why so many humans are like having a come to right now. And it's so weird because I kind of read about it in a book I read over the summer, which, excuse the language, but it's called Everything is Effed. Because I don't really cuss either, so there's that. And Everything is Effed, a book about hope.
Mm-hmm.
Because things are the way they are. So how do you find what you need to keep going,
Mm-hmm.
basically,
Yeah.
whatever that looks like for you?
Right. And that
Um,
that process of uh, that process of developing a strategy for not not even necessarily just like survival, but like getting continuing at a baseline. I think is something that we're always trying to. I suppose to touch on the
Baseline was a word I didn't
like
know until I was an adult, and we should know
yeah,
our baseline as a child.
right, yeah, yeah, and this is
Because
the
and that just all goes back to like what like the highly sensitive person thing. It, it it's a thing, but then if you kind of take away that, and it's like, it, just as people, there are so many like small things that we could have been taking classes on or
mm-hmm,
something about ourselves
yeah,
to be able to properly function, to properly communicate, to properly listen. Not, oh, this is how you listen. Like, I don't think a teacher ever told me how to actively listen the way I learned it in my peer training
yeah,
this summer with the emotions. Like,
mm-hmm,
and it's like it feels like we have to go back to basics, but there were never basics given.
right, yeah. That's the thing. People tell you like like focus on just the simple things that you got to do to get through day to day, and it's like, well, when
That sounds
someone,
like the
all right,
stupidest thing in the world.
right, because when someone wasn't given the skill set of that, when someone wasn't taught what those things are,
How it
um,
looks like to look at what you have. Like,
mhm,
I don't know how to look at that until I have an idea of what. Yeah, exactly.
right, and I think that to touch on the theme again, the idea of being in this sort of category where some of us experience a lot of sensitivity to the world around them and a lot of emotional sensitivity to what's going on, and you know, I think it's almost when you're in that sort of category, and I don't know how much like genetics or
I can
like
elaborate on that too,
or
but
sure, yeah,
you're doing
go
great.
ahead. I was gonna say like when you're in that category, it gets amplified because you get made to feel
Yep,
like you get made
exactly.
to feel like the fact that you're responding in the way to certain things and that you don't have this baseline and things are going up and down
Our baseline
is
is
your responsibility.
actually misshapen.
Mm-hmm.
Out like our baseline as a sensitive person is more misshapen than a regular person, or rather a person that doesn't have the hypersensitive person trait.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I wasn't going to make a list, and then I was, and then I
List
wasn't,
is
and then I
fine.
sat down and started highlighting and was like, I'm going to use stickies, and then I was like, nope, I think I just have to make a list so I can make sure that I can give the full picture of it,
Mm-hmm.
because I really want it to be clear that I dislike using terms that make people feel even unconsciously that it's like therapy or something scary or weird or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. I want you to
Yeah.
be like, makes sense. What does this feel like for me? Like,
Mm-hmm.
how, just whatever. And so a highly sensitive person it's a trait that, well, yeah, okay, I'll just start with that part and explain it from there. So a highly sensitive person, or what it means to be a highly sensitive person, is um, we have an increased depth of processing, a
Mm-hmm.
tendency to be more easily overstimulated, a higher level of emotional intensity, an increased awareness of environmental subtleties due to sensory sensitivities when compared to non-HSP groups, just kind of
Interesting.
simply put.
Mm-hmm.
So depth of processing, deep thinking, considering all sides of the scenario, being in tune with a lot of different things. So that can lead to where was it? It can manifest as high conscientiousness and mindfulness of others
Uh,
and awareness of like long-term consequences, high levels of insight, and needing time for reflection. Um, However, we seem like we're slow to make decisions and come to conclusions
mm,
and can experience decision fatigue from that,
right. Mm-hmm. And
which
decision
because
fatigue is
we are
very
just
real.
taking the energy to now process.
Mm-hmm.
So like we're taking in so many more things at once that like our brain is just doing extra energy. The
Mm-hmm.
overstimulation is like we're more impacted by the input from like all five of our senses. So like a loud bang or a strong odor or a soft ticking sound, like all of these things, I'm like, I am the most startled person in the world. Like you can ruffle a paper, and if I hear it a certain way, like I will jump.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times people are like, I didn't mean it, or
Mm-hmm.
stop, or and the point of what I meant by like our lives as highly sensitive people are shaped, our baseline is shaped wrong, is I immediately wasn't allowed to be
Mm-hmm.
sensitive to loud noises.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Like
My
you're
baseline was already
yeah.
set for me.
Mm-hmm. Right. Like the baseline is set at a point where it's like, well, this is
I'm
it's
expected to be able to deal with loud
right.
noises for
Like it's
certain things.
the world is sort of communicating in this way. It's like it's your responsibility to get to the baseline that we expect you to have, as opposed to adjusting to the fact that like
We
like I
didn't get
said,
to learn what
genetically,
baseline was and what ours was.
right, and whether
There
it's
was an expectation
what
going into school, and that's where it was, and that's how it went.
mm-hmm,
Anyone else was put in a different class.
yeah, and if it's genetic, if it's neurological, whatever the factors that are contributing to this, like it seems
Okay, yeah, I'll go to that part too.
okay, sure. But the factors that contribute here, it doesn't even matter so much in the sense that like I don't know why people have a resistance to being accommodating to somebody who is in that category, right? Where there's a strong response that occurs to a certain thing, and it's it's not it's not a huge thing to ask of people to accept or be accommodating for people who have a different kind of baseline response to the world.
Or at least not call you a party pooper for removing yourself.
Yeah, right. And that's the thing. Like when your brain is inherently configured to respond to a certain thing in some way, and you take steps to neutralize any negative impact from that. Have you had experiences like that where you've been sort of like blamed for it, in a sense where it's people feel like you're taking action against them instead of to protect yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. Just what I can't think of a specific thing like related to the way that you asked that question, but what I feel like I can think of is such where it's like I don't I want to participate in a movie night, but
Mm-hmm.
horror and gore, or even your stream, like you
Yeah.
are someone to understand that I cannot visually sit and consume
Mm-hmm.
any type of violence and gore, whether cartoon or not, which
Sure.
my response is now to say, which is really pathetic.
Mm.
Who said?
Mm-hmm.
Who said? And why does everyone think it's pathetic?
Yeah, it's strange too, because we've developed this tolerance for so many different things. Like, we've become desensitized to seeing a lot of like violence and things like that everywhere in our culture right now, that it's almost unexpected when somebody says like, oh, I don't consume, I'm not able to like stomach seeing this, and I feel like it's possibly a development that's we've kind of only really been conscious of maybe in the past like 10 to 20 years, really, because I feel like we're still learning a lot about all of these
So
concepts.
yeah, the highly sensitive person trait, the research was primarily done by Dr. Elaine Aron,
Mm-hmm.
who is a psychologist and started studying the HSP trait in 91.
Okay.
It's a trait, meaning, to my understanding, like it's not a genetic thing. It is not, to my understanding, like a disorder. In the sense, it's more that it's something that, like, I don't remember where it was at.
So it's not classed as a disorder specifically, but it is classed as maybe is it neurodivergent? Is that how it's described? Or is that more for
That's a good
ADHD?
question as well.
Oh, we've got a little bit of discussion about ADHD in the chat there. Guru Kiran 9264, welcome, by the way. Crow redeemed drink some water, so I'm going to drink some water. Interesting stuff from Cannabis Coach Europe. What is culture and how does it develop, and what about medicine? I mean, that's a big question.
It's not where my brain is, and see, some people can transition, I cannot.
Right.
I know that if I get off that, I will not stay where I'm at right now.
Sure. All right. Well, Kath, we'll see you later. Take care.
Bro, hold on.
Appreciate
I'm
you
going to
being
scroll up.
Yeah. Hydration is going on. Yeah, I don't know, that type of question about what is culture. That's a pretty deep one. I mean, I've done a lot of my master's degree was in a lot of sociology and things like that, and I studied a lot of stuff like that. And culture is a lot of things. It's a lot of different influences coinciding with each other, and that goes everywhere from language all the way through to actual behavioral choices people make on a day-to-day basis, and it's very difficult to know exactly where our culture's misunderstanding of certain concepts is lacking, or exactly how we can potentially take steps to improve people's awareness of some of these ideas and these concepts. But do do you find out there that there are a lot of people who maybe aren't aware that this kind of highly sensitive person designation exists, and that it's they're not really aware of the types of differences in how you experience the world?
If that was a question to me, I was absolutely replying to
Okay.
Kieran.
No worries. I'll repeat that. Do you find that there are a lot of people out there who don't seem like they understand that this highly sensitive person designation is uh it's a sort of it's a thing that fundamentally that changes your experience of the world, I guess? Do you feel like people don't get it?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. Simply because, well, not simply, but for a lot of reasons. Because it's not a disorder, because it's not old, but also because sensitive in itself, people hear as negative.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah.
So you are just immediately like our schemas, our lenses of when the word sensitive comes in play, you become defensive if you're being called sensitive, or
Hmm.
you are like, it is not often that like the word sensitive comes up without judgment unless you're around the right people.
Hmm. Yeah. And to for the right people, how do you think the context changes there? Like, what do you think the healthier vision of the word sensitive would be?
That's a great question because uh, that's it's just like it's hard for me to think about just because of how fully I feel people,
Hmm.
that it's very, very hard to identify with what it feels like to not be sensitive. Um, because all of my life I've just felt so oversensitive that I'm not sure what's not sensitive.
Hmm.
And I had my train of thought.
Did it go? Did it just like vanish somewhere? It's okay if it did. It's fine. We'll pivot to something else. One other thing I'm really curious about, actually, now that we're on the subject of hello, by the way, not Congo in chat, hola. Um, I'm very curious about your qualification as a peer support specialist, because you've mentioned it a couple times already, the courses that you took and the training that you did. Um, what has that taught you about your own status as a highly sensitive person?
Yeesh. The peer support training was one big life changer for me, just
Mm-hmm.
in the sense of like the workbook they gave me to be able to work with other people was like, whoa, you guys just gave me a guide to life. Fantastic. Um, what was the other part?
What is it? What has that taught you about your highly sensitive tendencies, I guess?
Sure. So, um, that's an interesting question because I haven't I mean, I suppose what I had to learn with my peer support, or rather, like, take in so much that I know for a fact that, like, I'm doing my best to not mindfully not be judging.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm having to notice is the active mindfulness in catching it,
Oh,
checking it, and changing
oh,
it
there we go. Okay, excellent.
when it's like I want to. So my partner and I have an unexplainable ability to like communicate just compared to a lot of the other people, especially close people that I've had, in the sense of we might not understand, but we like, at least it feels like from both sides, try very, very, very hard to like understand instead of like giving us, so like the ability to break it down, be it like, no, I like legitimately don't understand what you're talking about, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to think that I'm talking about something different, and then we go off on this train over here just because of all of this misunderstand.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so with that, I feel like my ability to have someone to outwardly directly communicate with, first and foremost, just because I'm very verbal with my like emotions and my thoughts, it has given me the ability to, when I'm verbalizing it or thinking to type it, it would be such where I would state maybe my feelings. So like, I really don't like watching horror movies. That's really hard
Mhm.
for me to consume. And then oftentimes my statement would be, and I sound really pathetic for saying that. And that's something that I like mindfully need to work on not
Right.
saying,
Mhm.
so that I can break that own stigma and understanding for myself. And I feel like my peer support stuff, it's not necessarily that it's like I legit look at this all the time with the catch it, check it, change it, but rather it gave me the ability to hear it for other people. Like, no,
Mm.
again,
Yeah.
basics of knowing exactly what to listen for so
Mhm.
that I can catch it and try to do something else.
Yeah. Right. And that's it's so valuable, I think, to have anybody who has any experience in teaching other people or in coaching people in trying to, you know, impart some kind of knowledge to somebody in the way that a peer support specialist might try to communicate to somebody. This is how you, or this is how we want to communicate in trying to
Dude.
you know, get a certain message across. I think the process of teaching somebody is just so powerful for what it does for you as an individual.
Oh gosh, it's so reinforced. Like I walked into this, I walked into screaming. Oh,
Screaming.
frick. Actually, can we take a break? My grandma's calling me for
Oh,
the
sure.
second time today. I
Okay.
just need to answer real
Yeah,
quick.
no problem. We'll take a break. That's fine. Let's go to break.
I'm back. Okay, so she called me earlier and I knew what it was. I sent her one of my like quote cards,
Mm-hmm.
like like one of my these.
Yeah. Do not give up. I love that.
And I also sent her one time I randomly was like, I'm gonna try to watercolor paint my dog.
Wow.
And I don't know, I think it was okay. So, but
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't confident in it. So when I was sending her that one, I threw the dog in there too, because it's technically my grandma's dog. And
Right.
she's also in lockdown right now because she's in assisted living. And they're, of course, infected because I live in the state of Iowa where we don't have a governor.
Yeah. That's pretty rough, but I hope she's doing okay. I'm glad that it's not some kind of urgent disaster that you need to go take care of. But that's good. So where were we? What were we talking about before? We were talking about
So the just I think being able to notice exactly what you're trying to catch,
yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
like the ability to even identify intrusive thoughts, the ability to know that there's a word for what is happening in your head. All of these
Mm-hmm.
things are things that are not necessary to have like a mental disorder for.
Sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And we, I think that there's probably a period where in our history as a whole where we got into this habit. I think of like looking at like mental disorders, and then everybody else is like mentally ordered, like we're all normal,
And then there's no
like
mental wellness in between.
yeah, there's no line where it's like at a certain point it's kind of gray as to whether you have a quote unquote disorder or not. There was no room for gray area. It's like you're either normal or you're not. And that mentality seems to have, I think it's eroding, but I don't think it's completely
Yeah, I
gone
would
now.
agree in the sense of like you just think about I'm having feelings of anxiety versus having anxiety disorder. I think that
Yeah.
that is much clearer, just simply put,
Mm-hmm.
because others are able to recognize that they are feeling anxious thoughts and they don't have anxiety. But
Mm-hmm.
before, you might not want to think you have anxious thoughts because you might think you have anxiety.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And for me, it was like it was sort of a similar process of that, or my experience was very similar to that in some ways. In that I for a long time I was not really aware, or like I didn't conceptualize it to myself as I have anxiety or I have depression or things
I
like
didn't
that.
understand what
Yeah.
anxiety meant.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I did not understand and see like a full me getting like I struggle to even use the word triggered because I feel like everyone has hears it differently, so I don't
Yeah.
like to use it. But like
Mm-hmm.
to see a full me get triggered and then have like be able to reflect on the 15 minutes of complete like this is what I am doing to now equalize what just triggered me, and then the again communication with my partner was enough to where I could explain exactly like I received this and this is what happened to me. I'm really sorry. And they were like, I'm sorry I triggered you. And I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, that event then caused all of these reactions that were not normal of me.
Mm-hmm.
And so even to like be able to recognize like what it means to you have to know your feelings before you can figure anything else out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. To what extent
Because
you?
then it feels different. It is not you.
Right.
You
Exactly.
can remove yourself from it and
You
look at it.
you and the feeling are different concepts now. You know.
You and the thoughts are
Mm-hmm.
different concepts.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. And to what extent do you think streaming has helped you with this? Like, has it reinforced a lot of these ideas about how you understand your own feelings?
Absolutely. I think it's something that I haven't found quite the words yet to describe, but I know that I am doing things or reinforcing things kind of unknowingly. For example, like I'm not into spirituality enough to have recognized that I've really kind of unconsciously been manifesting throughout my streaming because I am
Mm-hmm.
simply, quote, putting it into the universe. I am speaking a lot more things, and therefore, like, I didn't get my car tires, which were bald in March, changed, and I just wasn't. And it wasn't like I became okay with not doing it until it was a need. And then all of a sudden, like I was talking about it in stream, and then I just did it.
Hmm.
Like there was no, oh, I really need to go do it. I'm gonna go like get going and doing it and just being like, it was like, okay, today I'm gonna do it. Like it was wild. And I just, I believe that that is from me being able to talk, and then also with my talking have finally found a place where I can talk it out and find supportive responses, whether it is supportive or idea or direction or reframe or redirect, like whatever it is. Like
Hmm.
it it is helped me tremendously. And one, there's still self-doubt in me, so I'm not good at talking about it enough, but I know that there are a lot of people from my stream who have felt a similar impact, in the sense of like, it feels weird to not start my morning this way, like
Hmm.
just kind of checking in with people and seeing what's up and just being like mindfully aware, thinking about myself for once, when we think we're thinking about ourselves and we're not.
Hmm. Yeah, I think there's thinking about yourself, and then there's mindfully thinking about yourself. In that, there's a
Just like I
difference.
learned that
Hmm.
there's mindfulness and then there's being mindful of your mindfulness.
Oh, wow, that's next level. What's the?
That was one of my first breakthroughs on stream that I had.
Hmm.
Like I have a viewer who can like trace back to that stream, because that was a while, like I had realized it saying it out loud. I was talking about it. I was trying to describe what I meant by like it just I hit a point where this summer, like I thought I was mindful. I was
Hmm.
trying to be mindful of what was around me. But then there's being aware of your mindfulness, being
Yeah.
mindful of your mindfulness. Am I mindfully trying to be mindful right now?
Right, because you're thinking so much about how mindful you're trying to be that you're actually not
That
thinking
you're
about
not
what
being
you're
mindful.
not being mindful. Right, you're like
Or you
getting
might be, but you're not being like helpfully mindful.
you're just kind of occupying your brain thinking about
Yes,
what's going on
yes,
around you.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Like if you're just thinking like, "Oh, I am picking up my phone right now," or "I am doing this thing right now," and that's the thought that's going through your head. That's a certain kind of mindfulness, but it's not actual mindfulness.
So I can't say, oh, I wasn't like I was mindful, but now I'm mindful of my mindfulness.
Hmm. Yeah, and it it's a it's sort of a cycle, right? Because you can get so caught up in trying to
I
be maximally mindful. You can get
hate
so caught
self-awareness.
yeah, yeah, right. You can get so caught up in trying to be more and more and more aware all the time that you go down this rabbit hole where you can never reach the point that you're trying to reach. Like you can never reach this point of like just full awareness of everything that's happening. But at the same time, it's also this beautifully simple thing where as soon as you just remind yourself to try to be aware of what's going on, there's a huge change between that and when you're just not aware at all. When you're just like not mindfully thinking about what's happening in
And
my
it's hard to
environment right now.
explain, and it's really hard to grasp if you're not even fully mindful.
Yeah. Like it's
Because I think the I don't I should Google it sometime to figure out, but I trust the great kind when she stated 90% of people in the world think that they are self-aware, and only 10% of people in the world are self-aware.
hmm yeah,
That was wild, and it makes sense, but think about like there's not, and that's the biggest thing for streaming with me.
hmm
Those around me, I think, recognize a little bit more of the control that they have than they did before. I have mindful people around me
that's good.
because they're
Yeah.
mindfully making a choice to be around whatever energy that I bring, which is great, but it's confusing if you're with me for too long.
hmm
But as soon as you like get past and recognize the value of and don't judge what society has us judging based on, like you get right back in it and you're like, okay, and that's who I think is around me.
hmm Sure.
And so that like that in itself is like what just drives me to push Twitch. I wish that it wasn't owned by Amazon. I wish things were
Hmm.
different, but it do the best you can with where you're at now.
Hmm. Exactly. Yeah, I think that it's been a similar journey for me in a way, in that with streaming, there are a lot of ideas that I've had in my brain for a long time about certain stuff that I've never really I've never really been in a position where it benefited anybody for me to take the time to verbalize them specifically, you know. Um, and now streaming has put me in this position where I can communicate these ideas to other people anytime I want. And
You got to start putting it in the universe, whether someone's listening or not.
yeah, and when you put stuff out there that is a representation of experiences that you've had, and perspectives that you have to offer, it's surprising a lot of the time how people respond positively, because it doesn't have to be some kind of concept that is some theory about how some theory about how the world works, or some theory about how the
It
brain
is
works, or
literal
something like that.
vulnerability for who you are as a person.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think streaming is um, one of the things that streaming as a as a field, I suppose, has brought into the world, is there's a whole lot more people out there right now who are actually sharing parts of themselves with pretty large communities, and that can only really be a good thing, in that it gives people something to connect to, and I think
Which
we're
is
all looking for
exactly
something
why
like
I'm
that.
so pro Twitch, in the way that I'm like, if we're already getting rid of cable, like twitch.tv, we have our own TV channels. We
Hmm.
can choose what we consume.
Yeah.
We don't have to be watching stuff that people are putting out that's even like not representing or not depicting or what, like, go find where you want to be or put it out, do what you want. Like,
Hmm.
it it just all goes back to control.
Yeah. Right. There are probably a lot of people out there right now who have basically just stopped watching traditional TV or traditional like entertainment um, outlets, and are now consuming exclusively just Twitch streams, because it's a form of entertainment where you get some kind of connection with the person who's
You
doing
get
it.
connection and it's real,
Yeah, and it is.
or
It is.
realer than whatever script was made.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And I think the in terms of how this speaks to us as just as a Twitch community, I guess I think that what's great is that we're now able to build communities that allow people to find content
Exist.
that is well, yeah, to allow people to exist, but like
Sorry.
to 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 find content that is really very specifically designed for them.
that that because when I first found She Snaps, I was like, wow, she's goals. And the longer I sat there, I was like, I am not as raunchy as her. And I think I can have viewers that feel the same. Like, I am me, I am who I am. And I know, like, the more we come out, the more we blur the lines of what the internet has really
Hmm.
created, especially for what country lines maybe have even
Hmm.
created. I guess is like, there's more than what is physically around us, and however we got to the point where we can communicate with the human population and who we're supposed to be around, this has opened that up.
Yeah, I mean it's opened it up hugely, and I think it's opened it up in a way where the dialogue around concepts like what we're talking about today, this idea of there being a group of people out there who are in this category of highly sensitive person, who maybe in traditional media, in traditional television, in traditional entertainment, um, have potentially been put in a position where a lot of that entertainment, as you kind of mentioned before, a lot of it is like violent, a lot of it is probably difficult for people in your category to consume.
But so with the third part of being highly sensitive, so the emotional intensity, right?
Mm-hmm.
An increased emotional response to both positive and negative emotional experiences, again, when compared to non highly sensitive people. This increased emotional response can look like being moved to tears by joy, gratitude, or relief. We also could be more negatively impacted by violent TV shows, social injustice, or rudeness.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like I get more triggered by rudeness than the average person simply because I want you to understand that what you said hurt me and I at least want you to figure out how to not say it that way to someone
Hmm.
else.
You should move to where I'm from. You should move to the UK because that's a whole country full of people where politeness is like rule number one. You know, politeness is like the golden rule of social
But
interaction.
see,
And you know,
I myself have I grew up around how bad it is that I come off rude very often when I'm just trying to communicate certain things. So I don't know if I would thrive in a community like that, but I think I would be quick to learn, I suppose. I just
well,
know that like I am more often assertive because it's hard, but maybe people would listen better, so there would be no reason to be as assertive as I get to where I seem rude.
that I think that might be it. You know, it might be like a a self-fulfilling thing where like as soon as you're just in an environment where people around you aren't being rude, people
This
around
is
you are a little more
this is
considerate. You
the
know.
epitome of why I have to leave Iowa. I
Ah.
understand that things aren't confined to state lines, but they are.
Hmm.
And I think that that is why I don't want Michigan, or sorry, why I don't want Minnesota, because Minnesota is to Iowa.
Ah. What's a place that's
Michigan
less
is
Iowa? Where do you want to go?
okay. So I X'd out. I didn't realize I was as picky as I was. So I went through all 50 states, put X's through the ones. So sensory and environmental subtleties.
Hmm.
I realized that I don't think I can go anywhere that doesn't have winter because
Okay.
it will be too hot
Yeah, you
for
couldn't come
me.
here. Don't come to Vegas.
Too
It's
hot.
you don't you probably wouldn't like the 115-degree weather in the summer.
80 is pushing it here.
Yeah, I tell you,
Granted, I
I
know
don't
the
do well.
corn makes things feel warmer, which is a fun fact for everyone. Our humidity percent is higher when we have more corn growing.
I feel like
But
that's the
like,
only thing anybody knows about Iowa, right? Corn. People people just associate
hold
corn in
on.
Iowa.
Luckily, this emote is not an Iowa related emote. It's
Oh,
actually
you have
Miss Nebraska's
you have
emote.
a corn emote. That's great. We're gonna spam some corn emotes. Oh wow, there's a
Yeah,
whole.
and you have an emote wall.
Oh my
So
word, MZ Nebraska. That's awesome. That's great.
so she's Miss Nebraska, but either way, we're neighbors.
That's funny.
But so that eliminated any southern states, right?
Mhm.
Up a layer or two of states.
Mhm.
I didn't want a coast because
Mhm.
of expense. Um, I was left with Iowa, Illinois, Minnesota still,
Mhm.
Michigan, Washington, Oregon, Colorado.
Okay, it's pretty good. But I guess if you
Because
were gonna go to,
basically there are
yeah,
no parameters to where I move next when my lease is up here.
I see. Interesting. And
So I'm
when's
like
that?
legitimately moving.
Yeah, you're like moving to somewhere not like me moving 15
I'm
minutes down
trying
the
to find
street.
the next best place for me
Wow.
because
Okay.
this isn't it. And I don't have like I have parameters, but I have no preconceived this is where I'm going to go or had an idea. So then with those ideas, it was like Michigan is the more realistic dream. And I believe would be enough of a change because it's more lakes
Mhm.
based rather than Midwestern Iowa, Nebraska, Kansas,
Yeah. Mhm.
Dakotas, Missouri. Um, and then Washington, Spokane, though, rather than like Seattle
Yeah.
for like my big dreams.
Mhm.
My best friend this summer and her boyfriend up and moved when their lease ended and moved out to Spokane and showed me that it was possible with three
Mhm.
cats as well.
Wow.
Um,
That's a lot of
right,
cats. We have two. We're gonna get one more after we move, so that might be the limit for us.
right. And so that showed me at least that like it was possible if I really wanted to try, but I don't know. I'm trying to figure out like what is holding me back and if it's like a self-doubt thing and I should try to run, but at the same thing, can consider Europe. That should be changed enough. So it's like what's within my abilities, but also like I don't want to wait to try to do things because I recognize the opportunity being like, I don't have like a partner that I like stay with. I
Mm-hmm.
have one cat rather than two who's an ESA, so I don't have to worry about like rent with that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't have any type of job or schooling or really anything. And so, and I'm about to be kicked off my dad's health insurance.
Huh. Yeah.
So I have everything wide open for me. And so that's literally why I'm like going through and trying to like learn as much as I can about myself and what I need. And the sensitivity to the heat was one thing. Another thing
Mm-hmm.
is going to be trying to put myself in places where I am not behind when it comes to just what I learned in like high school was that like Iowa has a cultural lag.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't really know what that means or how that can be looked at, but I am trying to not be in a place where I'm the last person to learn something.
I see. I see. Do you feel like do you feel like what type of thing are you talking about though when it comes to the cultural lag? Are you talking about like trends in terms of how people behave, or are you talking about I don't know,
Both
technologies that arrive
materialistic
there?
and
Yeah.
personality.
Okay. Interesting.
Because it's odd, but because when I learned it, it was materialistic based.
Mm-hmm.
And as an adult, it is quite obviously, I feel like, just like the quality of people you're around, maybe.
Right. I see. Yeah, and
I don't know.
it's got to be it's got to be frustrating. Do you feel like there's that excuse me, do you feel like that idea of being highly sensitive, do you feel like that's even less understood in Iowa particularly?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Because the idea of anything other than what exists in this state
Yeah.
doesn't exist.
Right.
So for me
Yeah.
to ask for my boundaries to be respected or ask not to be judged when I leave something early or ask to have break, all of that is going to be judged all the time, no matter what. We will be the last to learn if there aren't significant changes because Kim said, "I'm going to let the people fight COVID," and
Mm-hmm.
now we lost.
Look where that gets you, right? You know? Yeah.
So, like, we are having New York numbers in Iowa 11 months into the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody else is. Nobody.
Yeah, it's crazy. What about I heard the Dakotas were doing really badly. Are they still doing badly, or are they not as bad now?
I'm not sure because I'm not sure if those governors started to tighten their reins or not. I just know that Kim has not.
Yeah.
Like, she limited sports for the youth,
Mm-hmm.
but
Great.
not, college sports or
Yeah.
adult sports or.
So you guys still have like full on college sports happening? Like,
Oh, schools have to apply to go online only.
wow, that is
Apply.
that is wild. That is really wild.
No mask requirement.
Yeah. I mean, I do not envy living in a place like that. I mean, Nevada's not been great, but that's way
And so,
worse.
like, to control what I can control, I want more control than this.
Yeah.
Because there is nowhere for me to not be judged.
Mm-hmm.
And even if I find a small pod, it means nothing if I try to go across the street. And that I don't like living like this
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that
because I'm trying to conserve my energy. And so choosing not to engage in certain things leaves me stuck in my head or, whatever. And then
mm-hmm.
this is not it.
Yeah.
And as a highly sensitive person, that is directly related, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say it sounds like it sounds exhausting.
Because I can't bear it's
yeah.
exhausting because
Yeah.
I'm sensitive and I don't fit in.
Right.
It'd
Mm-hmm.
be different if someone's highly sensitive and wasn't as aware,
Right.
because highly sensitive people that are like very highly conservative exist,
Mm-hmm.
but they're either pushing themselves down even more or they're trying to be highly sensitive but also very conservative. So it's just like it it's a disaster of what I'm learning, that like anyone in my life that doesn't get it, they
Sure.
don't get it because there is some kind of swirling toilet bowl that is impossible to get out of without the most perfect incident for someone to try to consider something different.
Sure. Yeah, I see what you mean. And it sounds like it all comes down to people struggling to empathize, really, just struggling to
Yes.
understand that not everybody is like them, and that,
Or
you
understand
know,
what it means to be empathetic.
right, right. And I think that there's a long way to go for really all of us, society wise, in terms of being able to empathize. But at the same time, like, some countries are worse than others at that, and I think the U.S. particularly right now, with the way everything is at the moment, I think that we're seeing a big struggle, a struggle for people to empathize with those around them, because the whole essence of society getting through a pandemic is that we all need to recognize that protecting ourselves is not the only thing that matters, and protecting other people is more important, because when we don't protect
Protecting
other
ourselves
people,
will not save the country.
right, if each person does what is necessary to protect themselves, the problem is the virus still spreads, and that's the thing that we deal with. So it's frustrating, and it's funny because I feel like every interview I do right now, we come back around to COVID in some way. It's kind of funny that
Well, I
it's
do have one question, and this is something I
sure,
feel like
yeah,
both people sensitive and not sensitive experience. And this is a
mhm,
question for like people in the chat, people who are lurking.
mhm,
Does anyone else cringe or search for or want to tell anything you watch on TV or any clip of anything? Why aren't you social distancing and why aren't they wearing masks?
mhm.
Like, do you immediately have that quick judgment before you have to turn it off because you're like, wait, this was pre-COVID?
Yeah, I kind of do that. I've certainly watched stuff. I've watched stuff recently that like feels weird to watch, because I have to remind myself, like, oh wait, no, this was filmed
I
last
shouldn't
year.
be expecting them to be in
Yeah,
masks.
yeah, exactly.
Like
Like,
I think sometimes I imagine them wearing masks when they walk into a room sometimes, and I'm
uh,
like, no, they're not. Well, but why?
yeah,
So
I
yeah, I did
I
want
look
to just because that was really weird.
I look forward to the time where, years from now, when COVID is hopefully over, we look back on this and some stuff will come up where it's like, why are they all wearing masks? Like, why are they all social distancing? And we'll all just have that moment of temporarily remembering, oh yeah, there was a pandemic. I hope eventually we'll be able to get enough distance from this thing that it'll be a distant memory. But it right now it doesn't feel that way. So we'll have to see how it goes. But I think in the category of I suppose we've come just beyond the hour mark now, even accounting for the break that we had. So I think we can kind of start bringing things towards a wrap up. But what I'm curious about, in as well, with regard to this year as a whole, and the fact that both of us have started streaming, and we've both, I think, come around to a lot of new stuff, is, do you feel like, even despite everything that's happened, do you feel like, based on all the learning that you've done, that you've mentioned since you started streaming, is there some small part of you that's kind of still able to find the positive in this year, despite all the things that all of us have been through?
This is why the small letters on that book says how to have hope.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is effed, a book about hope.
Yeah.
Um, 2020 has been my year,
Mm-hmm.
and it feels whatever feeling I should put there for saying that, despite everything that's going on, but I just feel more than prepared and supported and ready to make the difference where I can make the difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because I understand that I can't make all of the difference, nor can I expect to make difference in certain places where it's not my place to make the difference.
There you go. Right.
I feel prepared for that, and that's all that I can do, regardless of how the world goes forward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that.
I built resiliency, I built skills, I built stuff that I don't know how we weren't learning this at the beginning of humanity. I don't know.
Yeah, I guess so. I think it's just one of those things that I'm very grateful that I discovered streaming. I'm very grateful that this year has been, like, it's been a big upheaval for me in terms of how I'm spending my time and what I have going on in my life. But I'm grateful as well, and I feel like it's a weird time to be optimistic about things, but I actually am optimistic about things, you know. And
I'm optimistic simply because of how it talks about it in that book. When humans are removed of their choices, they have a lot of self-reflection to do because we don't have control, or rather we have less choices. So I think
mhm,
that there is a lot of like human work that has been done even in sort of negative light that I can look forward to when we are not in the midst of trauma.
yeah, right, exactly. I think that's a good way to look at it. And I think you know, usually what I try to do to wrap these things up is to have someone impart whatever they think is the most important sort of piece of advice that they have to offer right now. But I think that a lot of that is pretty much the essence of what we've been talking about this whole time, right? In that we're talking about control and to understand the capacity that we have to make choices within the circumstances that are presented to
Use
us.
this time right now to practice
Hmm.
being mindfully aware of what you can control, whether it be your feelings or adjusting a pile to change what the environment looks like.
Hmm. Yeah.
What are your choices? What are your resources mentally and physically? Because there's not a lot. So practice now
Hmm. Yep.
before we go back into the world so that you can, when someone asks you how you are, you can say you're elated today.
Yeah. Or some other kind of unique word. I know. I
I
know you've got
think
a big list of
moon
them.
metaphysics came in feeling discombobulated one day.
Wow, that's a good word. That's a very good word. I've always found that that's a very good word when you're confused. If you say you're discombobulated, like that, it's like the next level up, right? It's the next
Yes.
level up beyond confusion. So yeah, I like that one. Um, Actually, I tell you what, then, pick a word. How are you feeling at the end of this interview?
I'm just feeling optimistic. I'm feeling relief, I guess I should
Hmm.
consider now that I gather myself and reconsider because now I'm done with this interview. Now it's three, like I I'm feeling content that maybe more proud that I am finishing another day. Um Appreciative that I keep getting through the days,
That's great.
even though I have the self-doubt to where I can't even fully feel what I know that I should be feeling. That's one of the interesting, that's like a whole thing that I just discovered with my therapist thing. Discombobulated.
Yes, I'm gonna write that in chat for everybody. Discombobulated.
So, if you want to learn more feeling words,
Yeah, exactly. Right.
should wake up in the morning or
Hmm.
lunchtime or 1 a.m. if you're in Australia and check in with your feelings. I have
Yes.
tons of I have feeling words on my layout. So like if you don't know how you're feeling, like look at the words. If you don't know what they mean, what I did was I Googled them. I'm gonna start doing like a word of the day even because it's like we don't even know what these feeling words mean.
Yeah, yeah. And if you don't speak English as well, it's a great way to learn. It's a great way
Mm.
to, or not if you don't speak English, but if English is not your native language and you would like to improve your English vocabulary, then Jenny Stream is a
These are
great
a
way to do
lot
that.
of English words to learn. Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's great. It's a great note to end on because I hope people will go and check out your stream if they haven't already. But thank you very much for being here. I know these interviews can be kind of nerve wracking, so I appreciate you. I appreciate you coming in. And I look forward to hopefully having you in the channel a lot more and having me in your channel and having some of my
Agreed.
viewers in
I'm
your
I'm
channel. And
hoping that I'm on it. Like I'm trying to get to where I'm streaming more, having people on doing the things. But how are you feeling?
how am I feeling? I'm feeling happy. Well, happy's too generic. I am feeling satisfied that I have carried out this interview because
Accomplished another
these
one?
things are a little nerve wracking for me too sometimes. I'm feeling relieved that we got through a couple technical hitches without too much disruption to the stream. And I'm feeling excited to continue the stream today and get the chance to hang out with people again, play some games later, watch the game awards. Just kind of hang out. It's Thursday is one of my one of my better days of the week because it's a day when I get to stream and I generally don't have any other commitments to worry about. So like, yeah, Thursday's a good day.
Yeah. Perfect. Sorry, Munster just talked out the window. This is the first time he opened his mouth this whole interview.
Can we get a look at him? Is he available to come hang out with us for a minute?
Yeah, here he comes.
Okay, he's coming. All right.
Come here, big stretch, big
stay
stretch.
tuned. Stay tuned, guys, for Munster the cat. There he is. There he is.
He's a boy.
Look at him. Wow, he's like the whitest cat I've seen. I think like he's.
So he's like a yellowy cream. That's
Oh,
why
he
he's
is?
Munster.
Okay. Ah,
The
of
cheese.
course. He's very
Munster,
light.
come back, buddy.
The camera makes him look white, like makes him look like he's.
I know. I'm trying
not
to
his
adjust
tail.
him.
Ah, it's
Munster,
okay.
come back, buddy.
No, it's fine. We can
There's
see his
a-
tail. His tail is probably a good
But
representation.
you gotta
of
see his
real color.
eyes.
Oh, his eyes? What's with his eyes?
They're blue.
Oh wow, that's
Money.
a very handsome cat right there.
Money.
Oh yeah, wow. I see.
Money.
Wow, you have much greater like control over him than we do over our cats.
Oh, you
we
know
don't
I have
have-
a can you not emotes simply
Yeah.
because I said that too many times to
That's
him.
true. That's true. That's great. Goro187 says, "Why did Matt cut off Santa Claus's cheeks and put them on his face?" Well, thank you, Goro. You were about to get timed out because that is an odd thing to say. Anyway, I think that's a terrible note to end on because we're getting trolled. But that's fine. Trolls can get fucked. But anyway, I appreciate you being here. I appreciate the time that you spent with us. And I appreciate Munster for hanging out as well. Thank you, Money. So I will talk to you again soon. For the time being, we will hop off. You can drop off the Zoom call, and if you're going to hang out in chat, then we'll welcome you there. So thank you, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
All right, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right. Oop. All right, guys, we are back, I think. Are we? Let's get the webcam back. There we go. Webcam is coming back. There we go. Goro is going to get banned. There we go. Who was that? Goro187 followed me and then got banned. So thank you, Goro, for the follow. And yeah, don't come back because you're banned. But anyway, thank you guys for sticking with me through some of the tech issues we had for that interview. I was a little frustrated at times there where we, that was a nice chat. Didn't even feel like shit posting in the chat. Cool. I'm glad. Hey, shit posting is fine, right? We don't mind shit posting, but we don't like the trolls who jump in. So thank you everybody for joining me. Thank you to Jenny as well, to Jen rather. I shouldn't call her Jenny. I should call her Jen. So thank you to Jen for joining us. I hope you guys will go check out her stream. Definitely a friend of the channel. I should put her on my auto host list. Jen, if you're still in the chat, I should put you on my auto host list so that I'm just hosting you every time you're live. I think I'll do that. But thank you guys for sticking with us. And what we're going to do now is we're going to continue with another chapter of Lost Connections. Her stream led me here. Awesome. Shouting Tom. Well, I appreciate you being here. I'm glad that you have wandered over to my stream and been a part of our community for this interview. I'm very grateful. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the stream title. 1 second. So Therapy Thursday. Read along of Lost Connections by Johann Hari. There we go. And it's not a talk show or a podcast. It is just chatting. Oh, let's get some music going, guys, shall we? There we go. A little bit of music. Let's make it more of a... I don't feel like this playlist is super appropriate. There we go. That's a little bit of lo-fi kind of music. That's pretty good, right? All right. So let's get into another chapter of this book. We were at around page, what was it? Page 200-ish. Because we had talked about reconnection 1 was connecting to other people. So we talked about the Amish and how their communities connect with each other and how they have very low instances of depression and anxiety. So reconnection 2, right here. Reconnection 2 is, oh, where is it? What the hell? Oh, okay, there we go. Reconnection 2 is social prescribing. So, Chapter 17, Reconnection 2, Social Prescribing. I could see why so many people at Cotti were released from depression and anxiety, but their circumstances seemed unusual. How, I kept wondering, could you replicate their move from being isolated to being connected? It turned out the answer, or at least the first hints of one, had been just a few miles away from me all through my depression, in a little clinic in the poorest part of London. They have, they believe, found a model for how to spread it much more widely. Lisa Cunningham sat down in her doctor's office in East London and explained that she couldn't be depressed. Then she burst into tears and realized she couldn't stop. "Oh my goodness," her doctor said. "You are depressed, aren't you?" As the pain seeped out of Lisa, she thought, "This can't be happening to me. I'm a mental health nurse. It's my job to solve problems like this, not succumb to them." She was in her mid-30s and she couldn't take it anymore. For several years, up to this day in the mid-1990s, she had been working as a nurse on a psychiatric ward in a leading London hospital. That summer was one of the hottest in the city's history, and there was no air conditioning on her ward. They were trying to save money, apparently. And she had been sweatily watching as things went more and more wrong. Her ward treated people with all sorts of mental health problems, serious enough to require hospitalization, from schizophrenia to bipolar disorder to psychosis. She had become a nurse because she wanted to help those people, but it was becoming clear to her that the hospital she was in just drugged people to the eyeballs. One young man was brought in with psychosis, and he was drugged so heavily that his legs were shaking all the time, and he couldn't walk. Lisa watched as the man's brother had to carry him on his back from his bedroom so he could sit and be fed his lunch. One of Lisa's colleagues mocked him by referring to an old Monty Python sketch. "Oh, it's a ministry of funny walks around here, isn't it? Look at his legs," she said. Another time, a patient became incontinent and another nurse reprimanded her in front of all the other patients. "Oh look, she's pissed herself," she said. "Oh God, can't you get to the toilet in time?" When Lisa complained that they were not treating the patients like human beings, she was told she was being oversensitive, and before long, the other nurses started to turn on her. Lisa had grown up in a home where there was a lot of aggression, so for her, this dynamic of being picked on and put down felt both familiar and unbearable. "I went into work one day and I thought, I can't face being here," she told me. "I'm sitting at my desk looking at the computer screen. I couldn't do anything. Physically couldn't do anything. And I said, oh, I don't feel very well. I'm going to have to go home." When Lisa got home, she shut the door to her house, crawled into bed, and wept. She stayed there, essentially, for the next 7 years. A typical day for Lisa during her long depression was to wake up at midday, sick with anxiety. Real anxiety, she said. She would obsessively think, what do people think of me? Could I go out? You know, I lived in the East End of London. You couldn't go out your front door without seeing people. Day after day, she would put on makeup, try to steel herself to go out the door, and then take it all off and collapse back into bed. If it wasn't for the fact that her cats needed food, she might have just stayed at home and wasted away. Instead, she would bolt to the little shop 5 doors down, stock up on cat food and massive quantities of chocolate and ice cream, and hurry back home. Just before she was signed off sick, she had started taking Prozac, and on the drugs, she began to put on enormous amounts of weight. She ballooned to 16 stone, 224 pounds. She was obsessively eating chocolate ice cream cake, bars of chocolate, and not a lot else really during the daytime, she says. When I sat with Lisa years later, she still found it hard to describe those years. I was completely disabled by it. All the things that I had been confident doing up until that point went away. I used to love dancing. When I first moved to London, I got a reputation as being the first person to get up and dance, so I used to get into clubs for free. "Oh, is it Lisa? Let her in for free. She'll be dancing soon." But all that went with depression. I felt I'd lost me. I lost my identity completely. Then one day her doctor told her about a new idea somebody had come up with and asked if she would consider taking part. One afternoon in the mid-1970s, on the grey western coastline of Norway, two 17-year-old boys were working in a shipbuilding yard. They were part of a team constructing a large boat. The night before, there had been high winds, and to prevent the crane from toppling, they had attached it using a grappling hook to a large immovable rock. But the next morning, somebody forgot that the crane was still attached, so when a workman tried to move it, the boys heard a loud creaking sound, and the crane suddenly began to fall in their direction. One of them, Sam Everington, managed to throw himself out of the way. He watched as the young man next to him disappeared beneath the crane. There's key moments in life when you think, shit, I'm gonna die, Sam told me. After that moment, watching his friend die, he made himself a promise. He wasn't going to sleepwalk through life. He was going to live fully. And that meant refusing to follow other people's scripts, to try to cut through to what really matters. Sam thought of that moment when, as a young doctor in East London, he felt uncomfortable because he kept noticing something that he wasn't meant to notice. Many patients came to him with depression and anxiety, and he had been told by his training how to respond. When we went to medical school, he explains, everything was biomedical, so what you described as depression was due to neurotransmitters. It was a chemical imbalance. The solution, then, was drugging. But that didn't seem to match the reality of what he was seeing. If Sam sat and talked with his patients and really listened, the initial problem, the idea of something going wrong inside their brains, very rarely ended up being the real issue that mattered to them. There was almost always something deeper, and they would talk about it if he asked them. One day, a young EastEnder came in who was feeling really down. Sam took out his pad to give this man pills or refer him to a social worker. The man looked at him and said, "I don't need a fucking social worker. I need a social worker's wage." Sam looked at him and thought, he's right, I'm wrong. He thought back over his training and realized, I'm missing something. Everything he had been trained for was, he said to me later, missing a massive part of the solution. His patients were often depressed, he realized, because their lives had been stripped of the things that make life worth living. And he remembered his pledge to himself as a young man. So he thought, if we are going to respond to depression honestly, what do I do now? Lisa walked for the first time into the doctor's center that Sam was helping to run. The Bromley by Bow Centre is located in a concrete crevice of East London, sandwiched between some ugly housing projects close to the end of a huge traffic tunnel. She felt painfully self-conscious. She had barely ever left the house for years. Excuse me. Her hair had grown out and become curly and unkempt. She thought she looked like Ronald McDonald. She was skeptical that this new program would help, or that she would be able to bear being around people for long. Sam's plan, working with a group of like-minded people, had been simple. He believed that something was going wrong for his depressed patients, not primarily in their brains or their bodies, but in their lives. And if he wanted to help make them better, he had to help his patients change their lives. What they needed was to reconnect. So he was part of a team who helped to turn this doctor's office suite into a hub for all the volunteering groups in East London, as part of an unprecedented experiment. When you went to see your doctor, you didn't just get pills. You were prescribed one of over 100 different ways to reconnect, with the people around you, with the society, and with values that really matter. What Lisa was prescribed was something that seems almost stupidly modest from the outside. Around the corner from the medical center was an ugly scratch of scrub and concrete that the locals dubbed Dog Shit Alley, a messy place that contained nothing but weeds and a broken bandstand, and, as the name suggests, dog shit. One of the programs Sam helped set up was to turn this ugly wasteland into a garden, full of flowers and vegetables. They had one member of the staff to coordinate, but otherwise it was up to a group of around 20 volunteer patients who are depressed or suffering from other forms of distress. It's yours, they said. Help us to make it beautiful. On that first day, Lisa looked at the scrubland and looked at the other volunteers, and the thought that they were responsible for this made her seize up with anxiety. How, in 2 days a week, were they going to make anything work? Her heart began to thump. She made very nervous and halting conversation with the other members of the group. She met a white working-class man who told her he had dropped out of school when he was really young. Later, the doctors told Lisa that for years he had come in to see them and had been threatening and aggressive, and they thought twice before even letting him in the program. She met Mr. Singh, an elderly Asian man who said he had traveled the world and began to tell fantastical stories about where he had been. There were 2 people with serious learning difficulties, and there were some middle-class people who couldn't shake off their own blues. Lisa looked at them and thought, there's nowhere else in London where we would all be talking to each other. But they agreed they had a common goal, to make this park nice for people to walk through. In those first few months, they began to learn about seeds and plants, and they discussed what they wanted the park to look like. They were city people. They didn't have a clue. They had, they realized, to learn about nature. It was a slow process. One week they'd plant something and expect it to grow, but nothing came. It was only when they sank their fingers into the earth and realized that in one part of the alley they had been planting on clay that they saw their mistake. They began, as the weeks passed, to see they would have to learn the rhythms of the seasons and the earth beneath their feet. They decided to plant daffodils and key shrubs and seasonal flowers. At first it was slow and difficult. They realized there's something about nature, Lisa told me. You can't change how nature is because the weather will do that. The seasons will do that. So you can plant things and either they'll fail or they'll succeed. You have to learn how to do that. You have to learn to be patient. It's not a quick fix. Creating a garden takes time, an investment of energy, and a commitment. You might not feel you've made much impact in one gardening session, but if you do that every week over a period of time, you'll see a change. She was going to learn it's about commitment to something that might take a long time and having the patience to do that. Normally, depressed or anxious people, when they are offered treatment beyond drugs, are put in a position where they have to talk about how they feel, but often that's the last thing they want to do. Their feelings are unbearable. Here they had a place where there was something slow and steady to do, and there was no pressure to talk about anything but that. But as they began to trust one another, they would talk about how they felt, at a pace they felt comfortable with. Lisa began to explain her story to the members of the group she liked. In turn, they began to explain things back to her. And what Lisa realized is that everyone there had understandable reasons to feel terrible. One of the men who came to the group was, he told Lisa quietly, sleeping on the number 25 bus every night. The drivers knew he was homeless, so they didn't throw him off. Lisa looked at him and thought, how could you avoid depression in a situation like that? Just like the doctors in Cambodia who realized the farmer needed a cow, Lisa realized that many of the depressed members of the gardening group needed practical solutions. So she started to phone and harass the council until they finally agreed to house this man. In the months that followed, he became less depressed. As time passed, the group began to see their flowers bloom. People started to walk through the park, and they would thank this group, who had been shut away, feeling useless, for so long, for what they were doing. One old white woman would always stop on her way home from shopping and give some of the Bengali women in the group money to plant more flowers. Mr. Singh, the elderly Bengali man, or Bengali, I guess, would talk to the group about how these plants were connected to everything in the universe, part of a cosmic plan. They began to feel, in their modest ways, that they had a purpose, that they could do something. One day, another member of the group asked Lisa how she had become depressed, and when she explained, he said, "You were bullied at work? I was bullied at work." Later, he told her it was a key moment in his life. "I realized you are the same as me," he said. As she told me that, Lisa teared up. Oh, Jesus Christ, but that's what the project was about, really. For many members of the group, two forms of deep disconnection were being healed. The first was disconnection from other people. There's a cafe in the Bromley by Bow Centre that Sam runs, and they would sit there together after the gardening sessions. And after a few months, Lisa realized she was almost shouting because it was such a relief, after so long, to be really talking to people again. She had been terrified to leave her front door, and crushingly self-conscious in front of people. But now she had been helped over that initial threshold, she realized. She says, "I was really almost desperate to reconnect with people. As she engaged with their problems and their joy, I stopped obsessing about me so much. I had other people to worry about." Phil, the angry young white guy who the doctors had been a little afraid of, who they were wary of putting into the program at all, took the two people with learning difficulties under his wing. He was the first to make sure they were included in everything and to help them. And he was the one who suggested that they should all study for a certification in horticulture, which the group then embarked on together. The second form of disconnection that was being healed, Lisa believes, was from nature. There's something about engaging in the natural environment, even if it's a little scrubby patch in a really urban area, she says. I was just reconnecting with the earth and noticing little things. You stop hearing the airplanes and the traffic, and you get a sense of just how tiny we are, our insignificance. Later, she said, it was actually getting my hands dirty, literally getting them dirty, that helped her to discover a sense of place. It wasn't just me. There's the sky. Out there's the sun. It isn't all about me, right? It isn't about my battle with injustices. There's a wider picture here, and I need to be part of that again. That's how I felt sitting on the paving in this garden with my hands in the flower bed. Because of this modest little program, those two things that I had completely lost contact with, people and nature, had come back into my life again. It felt to Lisa like, as the garden came to life, the members of the group came back to life. They felt proud of something they'd done for the first time in years. They'd made something beautiful. When I went to walk through the garden they had built, I felt a sense of serenity in this little green oasis with a bubbling fountain in this lumbering, polluted lump of East London where I had lived for so long. After she had been in the gardening program for a few years, Lisa stopped taking Prozac, and over the next few years, she lost 4.5 stone, 62 pounds, in weight. She had met a gardener who she fell in love with, a man named Ian, and after a few years more, she moved away to a village in Wales, where by the time I met her, she was about to open a gardening centre of her own. She is still in touch with some of the people from the gardening group. They saved each other, she told me, them and the soil. As I talked with Lisa for hours over an East London breakfast of sausages and chips, she told me that some people might misunderstand the lesson from the gardening group. It isn't something that just happens. I think if you're depressed, you can't just go out and find a bit of garden and get stuck in it and you'll feel better. It has to be managed and supported. If people merely say, oh, just go sit in a park, you'll feel better. Go for a walk in the woods, you'll feel better. She says, yeah, of course that's true, but someone has to help you do it. She could never have done it alone. It took a doctor to prescribe it, to talk her gently through its medical value and to urge her on, for it to happen. Without it, she fears she might still be shut away in that house, guzzling Ben & Jerry's, afraid to be seen, slowly shutting down. FTB says having a purpose helps. Yes, absolutely it does. 100%. When you arrive at the reception desk of the Bromley by Bow Centre, excuse me, you will see that you have several choices. You can be referred to a doctor, or you can be referred to one of the more than 100 social programs that work out of here, offering everything from pottery to exercise classes to going out into the community to help other people. If you go in to see a doctor, you find it looks a little different from any other doctor's office I've been to. The doctor doesn't sit behind a desk with a screen in front of him or her. You sit side by side, together. This, Sam tells me, is one small expression of a subtly different way of thinking about health. He was trained as a doctor to act as the person who had the knowledge. The patient comes in, describes some symptoms, you do some tests, and then you pronounce what's wrong and how to solve it. There are some instances where that's the right approach, he says. You've got a chest infection, you need an antibiotic, bang bang, there's clarity. But the vast majority of the time, it's not like that. Most people come to their doctor because they are distressed. Even when you have a physical pain, like a bad knee, that will feel far worse if you have nothing else in your life and no connections. Almost all his consultations, he says, are in part about the emotional health of the patient. The biggest job of the doctor is to listen. He says he has learned, especially with depression and anxiety, to shift from asking what's the matter with you to what matters to you. If you want to find a solution, you need to listen to what's missing in the depressed or anxious person's life and help them to find a way to resolving this, the underlying problem. The doctors at Bromley by Bow do prescribe chemical antidepressants, and they defend them and believe they work. But they only see that as one small part of the picture and not a long-term solution. Saul Marmot, another doctor there, told me there's no point putting sticking plasters over the patient's pain. No, what you've got to do is to tackle the reasons why they're there in the first place. Later, he said, there's no point in using antidepressants if nothing has changed, so that when they come off the antidepressant, they're still in the same place they were before. Something's got to change, or you're going to go back. Often, the patients come in, just as I did, believing their depression is purely physical, a brain malfunction. Sam starts by explaining two things to them, both of which can be surprising. First, he tells them that there's a lot doctors don't know about depression and anxiety, and that this is a complex question, so they'll have to work with the patient to get to the bottom of it. It's our fundamental philosophy, having the humility to say, I don't know. It's really important. It's the most important thing you could say. And by the way, you will increase the trust the patient has in you by saying that. And then he tells them about how, after he got divorced a few years ago, he became profoundly anxious all the time, for several years. It can, he says, happen to anyone. You're not alone. There's something about saying it's okay, Sam says. I hesitate to use the word normal, but it's normal. If, by contrast, Sam told you just that you have a problem inside your brain, he said, then you have no control over it and there's nothing you can do about it. That's clearly utter nonsense. And how does that set you up in the longer term? He asks. When you're depressed, he says, you're in a very dark place, and if you can give somebody a taste of recovery, even if it's a small taste, just that small hope, a bit of hope, it's absolutely critical, and you never quite know where that hope is going to come from. So he lays out a big, broad menu of small steps they can take back to reconnection. He tries to model that connection when he talks to his patients. Part of his job, he says, is to be a friend. He lives just a few hundred yards from the center. He's available. And he says another key part of the center's philosophy is any excuse for a party. They're always finding some reason to have a celebration with all their patients invited. Sam calls this approach social prescribing, and it spurred a real debate. The potential advantages are obvious. Sam's health trust alone spends £1 million a year, around $1.2 million, providing chemical antidepressants to 17,000 patients with limited results. Sam suspects that social prescribing can get the same or better results for significantly less money. So for years, the Bromley by Bow Center and other groups doing social prescribing have been patiently gathering data, hoping that academics would come to study what they're doing. But little research has been done so far. Why? It was the same story I had been hearing everywhere. Giving people drugs for depression and anxiety is one of the biggest industries in the world. So there are enormous funds sloshing around to finance research into it. And that research is often distorted, as I learned. Social prescribing, if it is successful, wouldn't make much money. In fact, it would blast a hole in that multi-billion-dollar chemical market. There would be less profit. So none of the vested interests want to know. There has, however, been a series of scientific studies of therapeutic horticulture, getting people to try gardening to improve their mental health. None of the studies have been carried out on especially big groups or for a long time, and the studies aren't perfectly designed. So we should handle them with some skepticism. But the results suggest there's something here we should be looking at more. One study of depressed people in Norway found that a program like this moved people on average 4.5 points on the depression scale, more than double the effect of chemical antidepressants. Another study of young women suffering from severe anxiety found similar effects. This suggests at the very least that it is a good place to start planting the seeds of research. I went back to see Michael Marmot, the social scientist who first discovered that meaningless work makes us depressed. He had begun on his journey, as you might remember, in a clinic in Sydney, where he watched while people came into his hospital depressed because their lives were lousy, only to be given a bottle of white mixture and told to go home. Michael, I knew, had visited and informally advised the Bromley by Bow Center over the years, and I wanted to hear what he had to say about it. He told me that what they are doing is simple. When people come to them with a physical problem, they treat the physical problem. But much, perhaps most, of the reasons we visit the doctor are not like that. When people come to them with a problem in living, he said, they try to address the problem in living. Sam, the doctor who helped transform this clinic, told me he suspects that a century from now we will look back on the discovery that you need to meet people's emotional needs if you want them to recover from depression and anxiety as a key moment in medical history. Until the 1850s, nobody knew what caused cholera, and it killed enormous numbers of people. Then a physician named John Snow discovered, just a few miles from Sam's clinic, coincidentally, that the disease is carried in water, and we started to build proper sewage systems. As a result, cholera outbreaks in the West stopped. An antidepressant, they have learned, isn't just a pill. It's anything that lifts your despair. The evidence that chemical antidepressants don't work for most people shouldn't make us give up on the idea of an antidepressant. But it should make us look for better antidepressants. And they may not look anything like we've been trained to think of them by Big Pharma. Saul Marmot, one of the general practitioners there, told me that the benefits of the approach they have developed at Bromley by Bow are so obvious I don't know why I couldn't see it before, and I don't know why the whole of society can't see it. While we talked, Sam Everington and I were sitting in the center's busy cafe, and people kept interrupting us to talk to him or hug him. That's the woman who teaches people how to paint windows, he said to me at one point. That's the man who used to be a police officer, who came here as part of his job, fell in love with it, and now works here. It's funny, he says, to see the teenagers come and ask his advice for what somebody should hypothetically do to avoid a hypothetical crime. As Sam waved to yet another person, he told me something. What he has learned is that when you can become connected to the people around you, it's restoring of human nature. Sitting in this web of reawakened connections, a woman at the table next to us, who had been listening to our conversation, smiled at him and to herself. Sam looked at her, and he smiled back. And that's it. That's the end of that chapter. So, that was a really interesting one. This whole book is really interesting, right? But, like, that chapter in particular, I think, it speaks to a lot of the things that the book has been talking about all along, which is this idea that there are things that make an impact, things that make a difference on things that make a difference to our well-being, other than the chemical makeup of what we're consuming in terms of antidepressants. And personally, for me, I think it's really encouraging as someone who's currently taking an antidepressant to look at this and recognize that because the circumstances of my life have fundamentally changed since I started on my antidepressants, that's encouraging for me in the sense that I might be able to, deal a lot better with going off them at some point in the future. So I look forward to seeing how that develops and seeing what opportunities are there for me. But I think that's about it for this portion of the stream. I think we're going to wrap it up there. So thank you guys for being with me. Thank you to Jenny. Thank you to Jen for the interview earlier on. I'm going to be back in about 2 hours and 15 minutes. So I was going to do a bit of gaming before the Game Awards, but since we've overrun a little bit to 1:45 p.m. instead of finishing at like 1:15 like I wanted to, I'm gonna wait till 4 p.m. before I go back online. We're gonna be live at 4 p.m. We're gonna watch the Game Awards, and then depending on how long that takes, we'll probably play some games afterwards and hang out. So do join me then. I'll be back in a couple hours for the afternoon stream. So thank you everybody for being with me. Take care of yourselves, and I will see you later today. Bye guys.